Hello and welcome to another episode of The Imperial Truth. I'm Greg, and joining me as always is Howard. How you doing, Howard?
I am very good, thank you, Greg. Feeling a little bit cooler and not too bad, and a little bit more rested than I have done recently. How are you doing?
Yeah, sort of rested. It's going to get hot again.
Yes.
Yeah, I hate
Brace
it.
yourselves, everyone. Brace yourselves. Get your hobby in
Yes.
now before your paints melt.
Yeah, 2 more cooling cloths arrived today, so I'm well stocked
Ah.
up on silly things that make me feel slightly better. So that's good. Before we go on about the weather, Element Games are our wonderful sponsor, and you can purchase your hobby supplies, your paints, your brushes, your airbrushes, your I don't know, magnets, your glues, your models, your board games. What else do they do? Loads of stuff. Loads of stuff.
All your hobby goodness,
All your hobby stuff.
all the
And
paints, all the brushes, all of that stuff.
yeah, your artist opus brushes,
Mm.
and pretty soon your mini color. It's got
It's
to be
getting
fairly
closer
soon.
again. Yeah, I mean they've had some
Yeah.
quite transparent updates about things not going to their original plan, but all quite clear that they were doing what they were doing for good reason. So yeah, hopefully that'll be on the shelves very soon. Is it October?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think October
It's
was a
going to
sort
be.
of. I think they were being
Yeah.
pessimistic with the view to not overpromise and underdeliver kind of thing. But that's looking feasible.
Absolutely. So yeah, you can get whatever you need from them, and if it's in stock, the chances are you're going to get it next day, unless it's, of course, it's one of those spray cans, something like that. But and free shipping over 80 quid. Bonza. Fantastic.
And superb customer service,
Yes.
as is always the case. I think I mentioned it last time. I had quite a complicated thing where I was trying to order the Maximus battle group and it wasn't there, and then it was, and then there was trying to get other things in for the free shipping, and I messaged them a day or two later, and they just did absolutely everything I even asked for, even some of the more long shot things, and I couldn't have been happier with the service. Not everyone's capable of doing that with their systems. Even with the best will in the world, their systems don't allow it. But there's a control that Element seem to be able to exert, which is pretty damn good.
As we say, there are other good shops out there as well. We know that we're not naive, and we're not here to try and pull wool over people's eyes. But we've had a very good relationship with Element, and I've been a customer of Element for a very long time. And God blimey, yeah, I try to think how long that is now. So yeah, we use them. If they had a store near me, I'd probably go into the store, but they don't. So it's the online one for me. But if you're in Glasgow, Newcastle, Birmingham, London, Nottingham, they're not doing too bad, are they?
Have you managed to make it to the London store
I've popped
ever?
in. Yep.
Yeah, you did go.
Yeah, I did pop in. I see Neil's got his next class up. I don't know how well it's
Oh, I
sold.
missed
Maybe
it.
it's sold out by now.
Son of a gun.
So that's up and available. He did Instagram about it, but yeah, maybe I don't. Oh, heaven knows when I'm going to be in London next. Oh, actually, in a couple of weekends when Emma does her 20
You did mention
marathon
this.
walk. So yeah, that might be a place to pop in actually. In my a little bit of downtime, we'll see. But yeah, who knows? We'll have to figure that one. I still haven't planned that one yet. Classic me.
You got some ideas, but it hasn't gone any further than that yet.
Oh no, I need to actually work out what we're doing with the boy and nanny, while Emma is doing her marathon walk, because I'm not doing it. So, but if you, I did post up on the socials, I think. I will do it again. Emma is doing, a marathon walk around East London, and it's all being sponsored for Abigail's Footsteps, the baby loss charity that helped us out big time. So any donations are warmly welcome. I would try and remember to put a link in the show notes. If you can't find the link, I'll try and put them up on the socials as well. If you can't find a link and you do want to support us, then let me know, and I'll give you a link to her Just Giving fundraising page. Yeah, wonderful. How you been? How you been hobbying?
Yes, actually, unusually in recent times, but I did have the spur of a game. Local friend Grant Diadrin, as he is on Instagram, with his highly prolific hobby that he is able to do, he suggested we have a game of the new Zone Mortalis, and indeed invite our other friend over, Ant, to do that. And we said, let's get some units to get some lists together. And as always, tended to go a little bit overboard there, reading all about it and looking at lists. And I think I ended up putting 3 lists together and thought, yeah, well, we're actually gonna be able to do a longer day of it. We're going to go start in early afternoon, so we should be able to get a few games in. Yeah, of course we will. So that was a spur to put. I think I ended up putting 5 or 6 new units together for it,
Cool.
including printing out some custom bits to make up veteran breaches and that sort of stuff, and shields and stuff. And kits together, and trying to get some paint on them, because knowing that everyone who will and who are going to be there, we're going to have nicely painted stuff. So I wanted to have some showing to that as well. So it was some very late nights, one after another. But this was a sort of a hobby, I don't know, surge, I suppose. Just really get burning at it for about a week, and then just going, right, I have to stop now because I need to get back to having sleep and regular hours. So having had a run of not doing very much, there was a sudden burst of activity, and now I'm back into the sort of recovery after it. But managed to get a load of Sons of Horus units put together, some Tartarus Siege Terminators, some veteran breaches, some regular breaches, a stand-in for Axaman because I couldn't get him in time and certainly wouldn't have got him painted to a reasonable standard. I've been working a little bit on the Alpha Legion as well, getting some of them, trying to get the paint scheme absolutely nailed, as I've decided to go for a slightly lighter blue, and those new Vallejo true metallic metals are really rather good. Having been a little disappointed with the performance of those, I found them a little glittery on the golds for the Custodes that we did a while ago. I found that the coloured metallics are more to my liking. I think the blue metallics that are all sort of Hydra themed, if I remember correctly, Hydra turquoise, surprisingly, that sits remarkably well to what I would like Alpha Legion to look like. So that's what I've been kind of working on, while also trying to get the 3D print setup here sorted out, because I'm going to double down on trying to get some terrain, particularly after really enjoying the Zone Mortalis game. What about yourself?
You've got quite a large Zone Mortalis selection.
I have, but it could always be more. And it could always have funkier things.
You've got like a 6x4 Zone Mortalis.
Which is 2 boards now. 2 boards in the way Zone Mortalis runs. But now that I know that we've got that as a base. But now I'm going to need to add things like elevators and drop pod launch silos.
Thunderhawks.
Well, goodness me, don't. So there's stuff like that I want to kind of get doing. There's little bits that add quite a lot of flavour. Computer terminals, and from the smallest things with computer terminals, right the way up to kind of massive gates and objective-y type things that you might have to deal with. So yeah, that's
posters on the wall. Some classic Mark Bedford posters on the wall.
Absolutely, granted. That Grant's been printing Trench Crusade tiles and painting them.
All right.
And they look phenomenal. He's done a full board now because he is frighteningly prolific with stuff. He's painted the first few, just slapping some airbrush on it. He's put lengths of razor wire on it. He's put posters on it as well, having found some amusingly or controversially challenging religious posters to stick all over these trenches, and it's going to look incredible. Seeing trenches actually sunk into a board, it's the dream. It's just the board you've always wanted. He's picked up a bamboo printer as well, and he's pretty hard right now, so that's going to look pretty incredible. It means I might have to have a look at Trench Crusade a little bit more seriously.
That's cool. I see there's a story coming out by Josh Reynolds for Trench Crusade.
Is there?
I must admit, I'm like, I don't know if I'm that bothered. I kind of like the ability to have an overview on it and not get too caught up in what's going on, because I know some people will struggle with that. So I'm like, that's cool. And it's my, like, I want it to be my very much cool. Let's play Trench Crusade. Like, pick it up and just go kind of game, because it's what it is. So I don't know if I want to get that too deep into it either. But it's interesting.
Supposed to be a great game. Supposed the mechanics are supposed to be very good.
It's a good fun game, but
Mm.
and I think the mechanics mean you can never take it too seriously. A little bit like Blood Bowl, in that it's just going to go wrong at some point. So you have to accept that the dice are going to dice because you're rolling so few of them to do anything. So, yeah, it's cool. I need to get it out actually. I was just thinking that earlier today or yesterday. Or maybe I can see if someone at the club wants to play some Trench Crusade. But we shall see. I need to get need to get some more models at some point, but that won't be happening soon because I don't have money. So it's all good. Awesome. That's cool.
What about you? Have you been had
I've
any
not
time
done
to
a
do
lot.
anything?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's I don't know where my time's gone recently. Just hasn't been on painting much. Still working on those Eldar.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Just very slowly. But yeah, I haven't done a huge amount of painting. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's been like, oh, this has got to happen, and then it's like an hour and a half of your evening, but it's in the middle. It's not the start and not the end. So you're like, oh, okay. Do I want to sit down and do something and what have you? So there's been a little bit of that, and yeah, doing other little things, running around looking after Gim or whatever. So yeah, a little bit on the Eldar. I am going to try and get some photos up soon. Show kind of just what I've done with the war paints because it's Colourforge spray and then Fanatic war paints from Army Painter. And
it's very effective. It's very effective.
It's simple. It was the third colour was a bit tricky when I needed to add a third or fourth colour in, should I say? Because it's like orange. Don't know what colour you call that, blue and white. And then it was like, oh, I need a colour for like additional bits of cloth.
Kind of what I would call an electric blue. It's got
I tell you what, it's really weird.
Blue.
So I was looking for colour schemes. I think I said this last time actually, and I found Starly. I think.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Starly, but I was a supporter of his on Patreon for a long while.
Yeah, was he involved with Goonhammer or something at one point?
Tale of Painters
on Goonhammer. So he did essentially this colour scheme, and I cannot remember the name of the craft world. So I was like, oh, cool. And they were the only ones I found. And then recently I've seen there's someone on the IC's Independent Characters Discord who's doing a very similar colour scheme. And then BB Miniatures? BB on Instagram. Yeah, BB_Miniatures Brennan has just put up a photo with an extremely similar colour scheme, and he's only just started it. His obviously looks much better than mine. He's got a bit more muted on the blue, but it's the orangey and the blue, and it's like, wow. It's a bit weird how I haven't seen that a huge amount, and then all of a sudden it's like popping up. But it's striking. I mean, it's very striking. It's a classic color wheel job, but I think because it's orange and blue, it's just not seen quite as often, so it kind of pops a bit more. So yeah, I will get some photos up, some bad photos up, I'm sure soon.
I sent some photos earlier today of the Solar Auxiliary I painted a while ago as a sort of test, whether to go the dark armor, light fatigues, or light armor, dark fatigues. And a chap who I bought some knights off of a while ago, he had a very he'd had a very distinctive, he'd had a very decisive, I should say, opinion on that. So I said, I'll just take a couple of photos because I couldn't remember which way he'd gone with it. Trying to get decent photos, just even quickly. I was like, oh damn, this is harder. None of this is sort of showing off what I'm seeing here in front of me. So it's underrated, that, isn't it? How they're trying to share things or just get opinions.
Yeah,
which I think is always valuable.
Rogue Hobbies has got a video on it. I think Warhammer Communities, there's a video somewhere.
I had an article for a long time.
I had an article. It's mainly about having the right light.
Almost entirely. And or background. Yeah.
Yeah, and or background. And once you've got that, like you're okay, because then you know if you can do long exposure and what have you. But the lighting does 90% of the job. My lights in here are very yellow, and basically, unless it's daytime, I can't take a good photo
Yeah, right.
in this house without, because the lumen lamps are no good for it.
No.
So, yeah, I will. I don't know. I'll figure something out.
On the topic of sort of hobby progress, I suppose, or hobby stuff, I called up with a friend of the show, Dan. Who we have some questions that he's raised that we're going to tackle at some point. But caught up with him and some of the others the other day, and he is in the trenches, as people say, with the new baby.
Yeah.
And goodness me, it's a curve, isn't it, when you're on that? But he was saying that after, and it took me by surprise this when he mentioned it, that in the last episode I'd said, you'd asked me how are you getting on with any hobby, and I think I'd essentially said, well, I've done nothing at all. I've not had the time. I've just been sort of wiped out with that, and I've just not been able to get myself motivated to do it. He said he found that surprisingly heartening and surprisingly sort of a relief. He said that had some power, I think was the exact word he used, which really surprised me, and sort of reinforced to me that it's something that it's worth reminding yourself that you don't have. It's a hobby. It's something you should enjoy doing. And I found myself when I was getting stuff ready for that game, I found myself going back almost into university style mode where I was kind of, right, I need to start that happening now so that that's going to finish by this time, and this can be drying and this can be happening. I'd be doing other things, life things, work things, and I'd be thinking, oh, I need to get that to happen now so that I'll be ready for tonight's hobby session. It becomes quite consuming, and it starts to drift into a different thing. To my surprise, Dan happened to say to me there he commented on how he didn't know how I did it or how I did it, and I don't consider myself. I then compare myself to people like Grant, who lives locally, who produces stuff like you would not believe.
Yep.
And it's amazing how you compare yourself. So Dan compared himself to me and thought I was unbelievably prolific, but then was utterly relieved, I think he even said was the word, when I'd said, no, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do anything. I didn't get anything done in a month. And I was surprised by that.
Yeah, my best mate Dan, it was like, oh, I'm working on these, I'm painting stuff. I'm like, I always see you on like they're on there. There's a computer game WhatsApp chat which I don't join in with much because I'm don't play as much computer gaming with them because I know what will happen. And I'm like, where do you get time to paint? And his wife goes to bed very early, and his job is a bit different. So he's on site, so he's got a bit more time around, but it's still like, oh, and then he said he's watched this, and I'm like, how'd you do that? So Emma went away for 3 nights, and I'm like, okay, cool, and I've got basically half a day off as well from when I'm dropping her off. So I'm like, cool, what am I going to do? I was like, oh, I'm in Crawley. Actually, I'm going to go and watch the Odyssey at IMAX because that's
nice.
The closest one, second closest one. So I was like, cool. So I'll go and do that. Okay, well, an hour wait, 3 hours of film, 40 minutes of rubbish beforehand. Oh, there's my afternoon off gone. Right, get back home, do this, get caught up doing something else. Okay, that evening's disappeared, haven't done any hobby. Right, cool, go to work. I'm home from work. All right, I'll sit down, I'll get this done, I'll get some food, I'll do that. All of a sudden, that evening's gone. On to the third night tonight. Oh, I've got a podcast, tidy the house up. Oh, Emma's going to be back home tomorrow. So I've done no hobby in like the most perfect time to get some hobby done.
I used to get really annoyed with myself over stuff like that. I used to get really beat myself up over because I'd have such plans and you get 10% of it done.
Don't get me wrong. There's an element of it being my fault here because I was doing other stuff which I didn't need to do. But also, you're allowed to have other hobbies. Like if you sit down and work out what you've done in a week. So, oh shoot, I haven't really painted this much. Cool, but I have played cricket for. I left at 11:30 or whatever and went to the pub afterwards. So I got back at 9. Right, and then spent some time with the missus, went to bed, and no hobbies happening at that point. Sunday, she goes out, I'm with James all day, and then someone's around, and this is what's happened a couple of times. Someone comes around in the evening for a bit, and then they don't leave till 9, and then all of a sudden, okay, we'll sit down, have a cup of tea, with the missus. All of a sudden, it's like, do I want to get my paints out at 9:15? No, 9:15, 9:30, 10. Yeah, maybe, but actually, it hasn't helped that we were talking about computer games. I was looking at my Steam catalog because, well, there's a new game coming out in August, which is basically XCOM with Star Wars,
Oh no.
and it's and it's I've only heard extremely good things about it. And I was like, oh yeah, brilliant, I'll get that. I was like, hold on, I've got loads of games on Steam. Hold on, I've got Chaos Gate here that I started and did. Let's start a new one up of them. So I've been playing a lot of Chaos Gate.
Right.
And that, computer games eat time, especially the computer games I like, because it's like, oh yeah, should we start a new Dragon Age campaign, or some
Hmm.
something like that? And it's Total War Warhammer 3, okay, or whatever it is. Thank God Blood Bowl's still the old system at the moment. I'm not really getting that till going back into that till that's updated. So yeah, I've been doing stuff, but I just haven't been hobbying. But I've been playing computer games about Warhammer. I've been playing cricket. I've been, watching some TV shows I liked. The other night, I had a load of chores to do around the house. Really boring stuff. So I was like, come on, let's do the washing. So I put on Masters of the Universe.
Oh, I did the
Um,
same when I was doing some of the painting. Yeah.
only do it, guys. Only watch it whilst you're doing something else. It is not good enough to dedicate 2 hours, 20 odd minutes to without doing something else as well. It had some good moments. It's not the worst film I've ever seen, but yeah, it's definitely
I
a
think
film
of
to
the
do.
of the I would probably go a bit higher than that, because I thought it surprised me. I had heard some quite mixed things, maybe mixed to good things, but it
It's
did.
not a good film,
No, I mean, no,
but if you
it's
go
not
in,
going to be. It's an amusing
it's
film.
all as Mark. I'll kind of
Yeah, the Kermode, I'd
semi-quote
still the same. Yeah.
the Kermode, the Lord and Savior of all things film reviews. It's almost it's what you bring to a film. If you go in expecting it to be 99 out of 100, then you're only setting yourself up for a bit of failure.
Mhm.
I thought it was going to be terrible. It was not good. Like, that's better than terrible. So,
Mm. Mm. Mhm.
and has the odd moment in it. Jared Leto has a moment where you think, okay, for 20 seconds there, I'm okay having you on the TV.
Mm.
Yeah, you could quite happily disappear after that and never see you again. Not just for your acting, but yeah. So I watched that, ESA, and then when I watched the Odyssey, and I don't get a huge amount of time to go to the cinema and stuff, because what happens, it's the time getting there as well. I say it's the 40 minutes of flipping adverts beforehand. Um, glad I did. Glad I saw Odyssey in IMAX. But yeah, it is. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's just surprising, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
it's worth talking about, I think, and worth
For some people,
chatting, because it puts into perspective what it is, and particularly when it can feel overwhelming.
I look at this month. I also went up to um, Trent Bridge to watch cricket.
Oh yeah.
That's a whole evening and a day, because go there it was flipping half a day because of traffic in a heat wave, and the cricket, it was too hot. It was the most uncomfortable I've ever been. So you
You're not a
lose
fan
that.
of the heat at the best of times.
Oh mate, I was like, I know I've paid 70 quid to get here, and I've driven here, and I've stayed over, and whatever. If this doesn't cool down within an hour, I'm going home. And then
Wow.
luckily the sun went behind the stand. We made sure we had the stand with the sun behind us. James, friend of the show, James, Deathwatch. He listened to me moan for the first three 3 hours. The thing, it was grim, but for some people, Warhammer is their primary hobby by 80% of their hobby time.
Yeah.
And some people are quick, and you just got to judge it on what you're doing. And it's so easy to look at. Oh look, so and so smashed out another army on Instagram. Cool. Well, that's them, and
Yeah.
that is not me.
No.
Um,
I think it's worth
so,
calibrating ones.
yes.
Attempting to, anyway. I've seen an increasing number of videos about that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, for sure. You just got to do your thing, how what you feel. Yeah, and there are other ways. I read. I don't necessarily so much anymore, but I keep in touch with the book side of things more than most people.
Mm.
Yeah, I say 20 years ago, I would have considered myself to be really up there, kind of. Maybe not Michael levels, but up there.
Very
But
few people are at Michael levels.
exactly, happy happy to have finished Hive today.
Oh, well done! Yeah,
Which was very
I
good.
haven't managed to keep going with that. I need to pick it up again. I started, and it's promising.
Yeah, it's. I'm not going to give anything away about the story. I don't know if you know anything about the story.
I know
But
virtually nothing.
I don't think I could. I worry that some people will talk about, oh, there's and it will give away something that you might not see coming, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to worry about any of that. But Dan Abnett world building at his best. It's not a particularly like quite a. It's not. It's definitely not bolt porn. Like
There's some cool
fights in it.
ideas in it that I've
There's some
started
very
seeing
cool
already.
ideas.
Mm.
Very cool ideas. But it is very much. It's possibly the best depiction. Oh, the thing is, I want to say something about it. It's one of the best depictions of what it is that there is.
Well,
I
I
can't
don't think.
say what it
No,
is without giving it
I
away.
think
Unfortunately,
I'm perhaps safer to talk about it because I'm only about, I don't know, a chapter in, if that. And there's a concept that's introduced there that it can't be a spoiler because being that early in the book, but there's a concept introduced of the utter fear of the outside. And I thought that's something I haven't heard discussed about with the idea of what a hive city is, and its perception, and the idea of them looking out, but it runs so deep in their society, not as a law, but just as a cultural,
yeah, big time.
bone deep thing, soul deep thing, that there is a fear of the outside. It is worse than death being sent out into the outside, or even, and just this idea of inside and outside. It just the way he's really thought about that and brought that to life, I thought was brilliant.
So I listened to it, and there's a lot of characters in there, and that lost me a little bit. And sometimes I'm listening at work, and I'm not out in the van as much, so sometimes I can miss bits a little bit more, which is a shame. But again, it's the way for me to take that book because I won't read it. It would take me so long to read it. So I think there was a character who basically was like trying to describe space and had no word for it. Just like more outside, like
bigger outside.
It's basically like no concept of the idea of like being outside the hive was just considered enough to be alien, to be another world. That anything greater than that was beyond that. It's very much its hive. It's very much that world. Everything kind of every hive is going to be different. Every kind of nature of what it's going to be. I think some people will guess kind of maybe where the story's going, but I think Dan does a very good job of allowing the story to unfold without signposting it too much. And it was interesting to me how it unfolded. It's a really good look at the people kind of in the world. It felt very much like we were back in an Eisenhorn or something like that, and better written than Eisenhorn. But it felt back into, this isn't a grandiose tale of, the death of half of the empire or anything like that. It's it's a story about a hive, and whether it's got other effects beyond that or not, it's kind of irrelevant because it's the story of the hive. And the people in the hive from the negs, and all that world building was wonderful. There were a couple of times I think maybe I feel like a little bit like having watched the Odyssey. There was a couple of points in the Odyssey where I'm like, okay, you can tell this is an old story. Yeah. Kind of a weird thing to say about it, but if that was a modern story, it would have been sped up in a few bits. I don't necessarily think that would have been better, but maybe 3 hours was a bit too long. And the Hive, there were a couple of bits where it was like, okay, so it's taking its time. Again, not necessarily a bad thing, but maybe not for everyone. But I enjoyed that.
I need to get there. I need to get there with the Odyssey. I haven't booked that in, and it's very remiss given the overwhelmingly positive reviews about it. What I did buy today was tickets to the Transformers movie from 1986, which is
Lord, you're taking the boy.
Yes, I am, but he's not leading that charge.
No,
so we've got that booked in for the one weekend in September.
When he wants to leave.
Sorry,
halfway
no.
through.
Sorry, no. He's making the correct choices. He knows all about it and is quite keen on the Transformers, so that should be a lot of fun. And tomorrow morning we're going to see the Dino movie, the Paw Patrol Dino movie.
James is going to want to watch that, so I might have to.
It's all the cinema fun lined up,
Have you
which is
seen?
not quite the Odyssey.
We are way off topic. Have you seen Minions and Monsters?
I have not.
Right. James didn't want to go. Went with his three cousins who are very much the opposite to James in terms of being able to sit in a cinema and just concentrate. They weren't too bad actually, but James was like, "I don't want to be here." Shut up, you're here now. Right, he's covering his ears. He didn't want to. And then within like 10 minutes, they pointed out that one of the minions in it is called James. So it was like, result.
Amazing.
He's hooked. He's hooked. I think it's the best Minion film.
Okay.
It is. And if you know cinema, and I don't know cinema as well as other people, but you pick up on so many homages. It's so good, so fun. Like all the Buster Keaton, like house falling on him, and he goes through the window.
Okay.
Keystone Cops clips.
It's a very knowing thing. Then
yeah, it's there's a lot of love given to filmmaking in particularly the first part of it. But anyway, that is not heresy.
Far from it. So let's move on.
We do have Warhammer TV stuff to talk about though. But before we get into news, and that is one of the most off-topic intros we've ever done in 208 plus episodes.
Awesome.
We did have an email from Paul G.
Oh, yes, that was superb.
I'm going to call him Paul G. So essentially, it comes down to he enjoys the podcast. Thank you. Enjoy the podcast, Steve, and has been listening for a few years. Likes our laid-back style, something like that. Very kind of you to say. But we talked at the end of the Skitari episode about hoping that people don't mind us talking about like GW's business and the back end of things and that for you. And this is, Paul's a guy who's been following GW since the early 90s, playing second edition. Sounds fairly similar to us, and this, might be representative of our audience.
I think there are a proportion, aren't there?
Yeah. But essentially says he thinks it's good. Like, enjoys the fact that we're looking into it, and it has an effect on us. And so we're going to keep doing it because I asked you to tell us if you liked it or if you didn't, and one person's told us they liked it. So if you don't like it, you're going to get more of it, and you can blame Paul.
I'd like to go into that email in more detail, maybe even next session. But I thought it was some excellent points he made in there.
Would you want to do it now? You got it out?
Well, why not? Yeah, I've got it right in front of me. I thought his thinking about what the journals were for, and I think it gives his point he was making in there, amongst sort of saying that I think it's worthwhile going over that. And I think I've made that link before about other people who are looking into that. I mean, I would always call out Jordan Sorcery and his look at the kind of business model, although that's across all of Games Workshop's things rather than specifically Heresy. But seeing how they evolve and then thinking through or just viewing it from a perspective such as that of what are the business moves, the business point of view, as he puts it, without sort of taking out some of that emotion beside of it, which is perfectly fine. People can have strong reactions and emotions to it and voice those, but it's just a view that we've chosen to take, and it's how we tend to view it, to say, just to give a greater understanding, maybe a certain prediction and certain set expectations over what they're gonna do and what one might do around that. And the Journal Tacticas being a part of that, as he's points out, that the Journal Tacticas being sort of here to stay and a model that's being rolled out across everything that could loosely be said, or probably more accurately be said, is being covered by Specialist Design Studio. Yeah, everything, all the games that are under that.
Yeah.
And upgrade kits and stuff like that. You think, okay, they're never going to go back to resin. You think, well, okay, then that's starting to set my expectations of what we're going to see and what we're going to see for the foreseeable, and even planning projects, particularly when you're over people who've been playing the game for multiple decades. You're thinking in those sorts of terms. So I find that kind of fascinating, and I was really heartened to see someone else was thinking the same way. But I say heartened because I had a suspicion that it would be something that a lot of people might be interested in. Or no, that's not true. It'd be a perspective that a lot of people would take.
I mean, even when you talk to the most of the reactionary people, when you actually sit and chat to them and say, "But why did you expect that?" Because why did you expect the release of X when obviously GW are I'm so happy he used the term plastification. The GW are continuing their plastification of the heresy. They're building the groundwork to build off of. So why are you expecting, um, 2 years ago, Just Daring to come out in plastic? Like, don't get me wrong, GW could drop it, but also I'm extremely not surprised if they don't. And then people go, yeah, I know, but wouldn't it be nice? And it's like, well, that's a different thing. Like, and once you start taking your wish list and putting it as an expectation, that's when you get your issues, and that's when you get these posts and the whining and things like that comes from a set expectation that's not being met. But GW haven't set that expectation, so it's
Well, I think one of the most
unfair.
significant things was the point in his last paragraph in his email. There about discussing a new edition cycle, if that is indeed what turns out that heresy is on, which is only speculation, of course, but relatively informed evidence, speculation. But now we can look at Old World and say, well, what they've done there, the publications that they've put. His point is he hopes that if it is on a 3-year or similar cycle of new editions, that the journals themselves would still be usable. And looking now to see Old World, which has recently had its new edition of sorts, it was a tidying up type edition, and it kept their publications, their sort of expansions, if you like, army books and similar journals, completely valid, which is a very different thing. And I was aware of various people. Yeah, I've seen an opinion that's been voiced more than once of people saying, "Well, I'm not actually going to get into this because I don't want to be on that cycle." And that's come into focus again with the more recent release of a new edition of Necromunda, which did, and I think and again, this is where having that sort of point of view is the sort of business, if you like, point of view is quite an interesting one, because it's kind of obvious. That's not true. I can see where they're coming from in that case, in the Necromunda's case, wiping the slate clean. I have an entire shelf in a PAX wardrobe in there that's currently taking on a pretty sinister U shape as it bows under the weight of the Necromunda books that I collected over the course of this edition. They are now all useless as game devices. They might be handy for rules references. That represents my general now shift to I'm not going to be getting the physical books if I can avoid it, because it's too much of a hassle, even if the cycles were longer. But he makes that point of things, the cycle there, and it's not as painful. Whereas I know there are people in Necromunda that's really annoyed them. But I get why they're coming from.
You just got to change your attitude on that and just look at it as a 15 to 20-year investment, and you will make that money back when people get nostalgic for this edition, and you can put it on eBay. Yeah, you're right on that front. And Heresy, Necromunda's in a slightly different place.
It is
Heresy's in a slightly different place, because even in Old World now, the arcane journals are army specific. So it doesn't matter so much because you might not be buying as many. But when all your rules are coming, when every book's got a rule for you, then you're feeling more compelled to buy the rules. So it hurts more because you're having to go to that well to purchase this, to purchase that. But yeah. And Old World's an interesting one as well. Yeah, no, it's good. It's nice to get some feedback, Paul. And when we go into the
considered feedback
later,
as well. That was great. Really appreciated that. That was great. Thank you so much.
Then I say while we're doing the financial chat, which won't be that long, but please remember that Paul asked for it. All right. But no, it's good. And yeah, at the end of the day, Paul listens to the show, so he's going to be roughly kind of sure he's not going to hate everything we say. So there is an element of having a similar outlook, should I say, which is cool. But definitely, I think sometimes it does help to remind yourself how other people are coming at these things as well. even if it is just to be able to go, hold on, mate, you're thinking like this, and that is just not feasible. So, all good. Right, let's leave that there. Let's actually, come and look at if we've got any news this week. Well, let's do kind of news, and we will fold that financial report in there a little bit as well, because it's pretty much news. So in terms of actual Horus Heresy gaming news, we've got some new combi weapons and shotguns. I was talking to a person on the insider track with GW who was like, yeah, just got these combi weapons and shotguns turned up, like without any kind of, you're going to get these and these are going to come out, which is cool. So
sort of suggests maybe they came out, they were moved around on the schedule, perhaps.
I wouldn't even go that far. Just every now and then with GW, they do something, and it's because someone's just got the date wrong or what have you.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it happens. But yeah, it's kind of real drop out of nowhere kind of release. What is it? Combi melters, combi plasma, Volkite, flamer, 2 shotguns, and 10 times shotguns, different designs. Oh, that's the single-handed, isn't it? The top ones. And then 10 of each of the other designs, and a load of accessories. Cracking little kit, isn't it?
It's really cool. I think it sets a really good tone, and I think it sets it up quite nicely for there to potentially be another one of these. And then you just have 2 kits with almost every kind of bolter adjacent weapon that you could have. Because there's a few bits. There's a few of the combi. There's only a few, I should say. It's only a handful of the combi weapons that aren't in here. Combi disintegrators on the disintegrator frame.
Sure.
I'm not entirely sure how you buy that. Now, I think, did it come with the veterans kit? I don't know. Anyway, there's
something like that.
So that's quite hard to get individually if you wanted it. So there's combi disintegrators, combi grenade launcher, combi grav. I think are the only. There's 3 there, and then you've got and there's 4 of the other weapons are in this: flamer, plasma, melter, Volkite. And
you can buy you can buy a disintegrator weapons upgrade set.
Oh, it is a set. Is it a boxed set or is that direct only?
It doesn't have combis though.
You sure?
Oh yes, it does. I'm going blind.
Pretty sure.
Where are they now? Oh yes, no, right in front of me.
But I don't think that's a box.
It's only got 4. It's only got 4. No, it's just a sprue thing.
It's just a frame.
That's why. Because
you can buy the frame. One. You can buy the frame direct, but you can't buy it in stores, and therefore quite unlikely to be able to get it via a third party. But it's still a thing. It is available, at least. So I could see them perhaps putting more of those, and particularly in this style, perhaps in a box on their own, or like this, doing a second box of this. So it sets a tone. You'd have 3 other weapons, and in the place of the shotguns, you could have things like the sniper bolters, whatever they're called, nemesis bolters, and even perhaps a kraken bolter. A kraken bolter perhaps fills that 4th role. Suddenly you can build loads of units with these 2 kits, which is pretty cool. And the fact that they've also got at least some weapons to potentially be used mixed into breacher squads is cool.
Yeah, it's we're going to get more of these, like because of the way they work. You got. Do we want infinite variety? Some people do. There's downsides to that. But what they have is a system where they can put out these, know they're going to fit with everything. It's a plug and play kind of system they've got now, which when you're looking at a wide variety of arm marks and what have you, it works well. So
it really does. There's something really nice just about the volume of this you get as well, rather than the old packs, which felt quite expensive for like 5 or 10 weapons in a little blister pack. This feels meaty by comparison. Same with the special weapons kit, and like just getting them all in one pack. You're like, yeah, that's great, thank you.
Yeah, but for some people, one pack's all they need.
Yeah, quite.
For their whole army. Like, they're not doing stuff. Other people are going to be like, no, I actually want like loads of scouts or loads of vets or whatever it is. And you need more. Cool. But it's quite.
Do you have any feelings on the bolter being above a special weapon.
Nope.
Essentially, the special weapon being underslung, which I actually quite like because it makes it feel like that underslung grenade launcher kind of feel. Like you've got the rifle and then that beneath it. But some didn't love the. I've seen some people not loving the top-loaded magazine. I don't have a
Cool.
strong opinion on it. I think variety's cool, and you can immediately tell who's got what.
Yeah. Haven't even thought about it. I'll be honest with you. I'll try. I actually closed the window that they
It's
were
moved
on,
on.
so I'm actually
Moved
I'd
on.
moved on. I'm like, it is what it is. I can't do anything
There it
about it
is.
either. So
Well, no,
where are
just
we?
to do an opinion though.
So yeah. No. I'm like, well, yeah. I think the plasma looks really good. I think the plasma looks better that way. I think the flamer looks better that way. Well, you wouldn't have the flamer on top, would you? So it sets a pattern that I think works really well. Say it just works, so it never even crossed my mind. I'll be honest, never even crossed my mind, which is kind of cool in a way. That I was just like, yeah, they're cool. Move on. It's not it's not a major release, is it either? So it's
No.
like brilliant, cool. That's our one bit of gaming news in 28 mil. We are getting a new book. Some
Looking forward to that
Rowderon
one.
fella. Guy Haley, which is cool. It's been a while. We're still waiting for a Horace Primarch novel. Is that
I
ever going to get written?
did wonder if Guy would do a Rowderon one because he plays such a. The guy wrote him in the Siege book that I've forgotten which one. Lost and the Damned.
That's yeah.
They'd on the wall and him squaring off against the Night Lord. And yeah, I wondered if Guy had sort of got interested in him as a character and has done so.
So
And yeah.
yeah, this is dealing with the introduction of the inducti and them struggling to come to terms with their
violent nature.
savage proclivities. There we go. There's a word you only ever tend to read in Warhammer nowadays. Like, I remember Kenny asking me if in England we used collar and the other words that get described used all the time. His collars are up and all that, or out. His collar was out of balance. All that kind of stuff. It's like no, not for best part of 100 years, mate. So there we go. We new Galaxy in Flames cover.
Yes.
Have they announced when the hardbacks of Horus Rising Full Scores are they still available? Do we know? How well are they selling? I don't know. Can't remember.
I think
You
the
can still buy the
specials
hardback.
or the limiteds
Oh
go
yeah,
pretty quick.
Got hardbacks in stock. Okay.
Not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. It's a hard one to get right, I reckon.
The Black Library books still have this kind of still the collectible aspect to them, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, the one that came out recently, which was always going to be intense, the Wicked and the Warped, which is a 40k one about Necrons, the two Necron characters. It's a follow up to what I think is one of the best 40k era books written. That sold out in about 3 minutes, I think, maybe less, pre the 10 o'clock release time. All over the world, it sold out. But certainly the limited edition, the hardback, just went, and that was game over. So they do that. I wonder if that's cooled slightly. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm really surprised the hardbacks are available in these.
Yeah, we don't know how many are available, do we, at the end of the day? But I suppose they know they will sell in the end. Like, well, will they? It's like, how hard is it now to turn around to your mate and go, "You should read this series"? What's that? It's this series. There's 54 books plus a siege plus external ones and plus some you can't get.
Isn't that what this series is specifically addressing?
Well, are they going to do the burdened unburdened? Thingy in the unburdened, like that was never part of the numbered series. Like,
but this is only the 12 books.
Yeah, well, this is it, right? But this is but that's not the series. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's a weird one. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, because it is only the 12 books, but it's a slightly strange 12 books as well. But hey, they'll sell.
I did see.
Sure.
You've already mentioned him. friend of the show, Michael, Track of Words, knowledge, the deep knowledge of all things literature and books. He wasn't too impressed with this cover. I think it's a fabulous rendition of the
Galaxy in
characters.
Flames.
Yeah, and he said it. And similarly, I don't think he was thrilled with False Gods. More so this one because he was a big fan, or his comment was he liked Neil's original covers. Obviously, they were slightly an earlier style than what became established for the Heresy. The rest of the Heresy series he did. He said, but that was almost like the brief there was to show off legions of Marines doing stuff. This is 4 characters, critical characters that run literally from the beginning to end. But he said it sort of lost some of the scale for him and it became character driven, which left him a bit cooler on it, which I was surprised at that.
Yeah.
But I thought that's an
Also,
interesting take.
Potentially spoilers.
Well, Abaddon.
And Loken fighting each other.
Well, yeah, but Loken may not. Well, depending if you read those books, anyway. Regardless,
No.
Abaddon. Yeah, don't go any further because I was being careful there. But Abaddon goes all the way through.
I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably know the story. But just the fact they fight each other at the end of the book, yeah, I know. It is what it is. It's again. It feels like this set of books is for someone who's already in the hobby who knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
wants a shorter version to
True,
read.
true.
So I don't necessarily have an issue with that. I like the Horus Rising cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with
False
that.
Gods, yeah. I mean, I've always got something about Galaxy in Flames because I think people give it more credit than it deserves as a story. I don't think it's great. I think it's only considered great by people because it finishes off the trilogy. I think it's okay. And that's with all the rewrites. So
I think, Horus Rising and False Gods are so good.
Oh, wow.
It suffers. It certainly suffers being next to those.
Horus Rising is so good. False Gods is good.
Fair.
I don't think it's so good. I think False Gods is good. I think Galaxy of Flames is okay. It has moments. It has some really not great moments. Anyway, yeah, cool new art from Neil. I have messaged him. I'm trying to get him on the show. He has read messages, but has not committed. I will have to find something about him that I can blackmail him with. We will try that. But that's cool. You can also get them in your Black Library app if you want to buy books that way.
There is currently, speaking of Black Library, there is a bit of a thing going around, a bit of a marketing thing going around at the moment where various Black Library audio talents, Toby Longworth,
up at Warhammer World.
Well, they're doing videos, and there's videos out there because they've lent their voice to Total Warhammer 40,000.
Wow, 40k, yeah.
I think Toby Longworth's done the Marines, and oh dear, and I'm really disappointed I've forgotten his name, but there's a guy who's a very talented voice artist who has sort of relatively recently broken into Black Library. He's done various orc voices, and he has done the orcs for that game. So there's Black Library adjacent people who are talking about that and various aspects of that, and Toby Longworth's reflection on voicing Space Marines and how hard it is when there's 10 Space Marine characters and you can only go so low. is worth a listen. I suggest.
The interview that got away because I forgot it was booked in and then missed it, and then it was kind of okay. I won't bother contacting him again. My fault, but there we go. Such is life. Yes.
Other than that, there's just been the continued march of the pages from the Black Books, which is great to see.
Updated rules for Titans and Legions Imperialis.
Oh yes.
How did these go? How did these go down?
I think those. I get the impression, just purely anecdotally, that they probably sold quite well, because the Titanicus crowd largely got very excited about new heads, and similarly excited for the Reaver getting the weapons on the arms, because that opens up options with Warbringers and all sorts.
Yes, absolutely.
And then Legions Imperial, as you say, quite pleased to see not only did Legions Imperialis introduce the rules for those weapons, because the rules for Titanicus were in the box. If you bought the whole Titan, that is, not the weapon sprue. But which I don't think they're available for download. I'll have a look for that in a minute, which they're supposed to be. But for Legions Imperialis, they put the rules in a download. Great, but they also took the opportunity to have a little play, or have a little tweak of some of the other weapons. I saw someone having a bit of a whinge about the plasma still being not particularly good when it was somewhat outclassed by the Gatling when it had an opportunity to have a little niche to itself. But I'm not sure how true that was. But just good that they were making those adjustments, because they don't always need to do that sort of stuff.
No. So this is the first. I was looking because they've had a couple of like FAQs and stuff, haven't they, for Legions? Haven't had a release in a while. And I just quickly had to look at the downloads for AT, and it's 2 years ago or something stupid like that. It's like, oh, it's really sad. Like,
would be really nice
a lot of people going out to buy these weapons for AT. Like, it's yeah, I don't know.
It's a bit of a kicker if you go on there and buy the weapon sprues as direct only sprues, which they do. And I also saw someone today saying, putting on their Facebook group, I think it was on the GW Facebook page, just putting in another request. It would be great if you released the Warhound weapon sprues. The problem is with the Warhound, I think there aren't the weapons integrated.
Yeah,
actually, maybe they aren't. Anyway, there was people asking for the Warhound weapon sprues now that there's 2 of them to be made available direct. But the problem is with the new weapons, if you order those from there, particularly for the weapons for the Reavers, you can't get the rules anywhere.
No.
You can if you buy the whole box, which is kind of fine, more Reavers and always tasty. And the same as even then, if you've got the rules, you can't get the cards, which you kind of need the cards. So a download would be great.
If I've paid my fees to have 20 Titans, surely I can have the cards, play them. Because it just drives people to using
as
apps.
As a download.
Yeah,
preferably.
as a download. As something. I almost wonder if someone's going to just turn around and start going, right, I've got a job lot, going to a printer.
Oh, I've seen it done. I've seen it done already with those Warhound weapon cards, 100%. But it would just be quite nice if they did just put them so you could print them at home. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm now looking at it going, no, really, do I want to go and if I go back and pick up my Titanicus, like how much stuff do I now need to make up for to try and get these? And do I want to do it? And am I just going to use an app that someone's made? But I don't know. Who knows? But it's I don't know. It seems weird with Imperial. Seems to be in a slightly strange place.
Yes, I find the lack of suggestions of future books and things is a bit of a shame. And I mean, there are places they can go with kits, but I'm a bit disheartened that I often see the kits in various clearance sections or summer sales of places. Now, that might be because they ordered a lot and it hasn't sold as in the way that they wanted, but events are still doing quite well. It's still quite well supported because they were putting out a lot of kits for that, so that's quite a lot of investment. So I hope that continues to grow, because it would be so good for them to get to a place where they could start exploring, as Epic used to do when it was first around, where they start exploring things that aren't practical to do in 28mm. So they start looking at vehicles, I mean, crazy, Ordinatus things for the Mechanicum, different Titan chassis, he says, hopefully.
GW is such a strange place, and I can only assume that they're done with AT, but you do wonder if they came out and just went, here's some orcs. Well, if you would see the sale of everything fly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they've missed that boat now or what.
There continues to be. I heard that rumor again that Battlefleet Gothic's or a Battlefleet game is gonna raise its head again.
Rumor's going to be around till something's released.
Indeed, and I heard that rumbling along again, but that it was going to be heresy only in the same vein. And I sort of think, well, yeah, that's a kind of logical thing. It would be under specialist design. It's under that same aegis of heresy. So
I think that's coming less likely.
really,
Well, look at AT and look at Imperialis. Right, AT's dead by might be resurrected, but currently as GW look at it, it's basically dead.
It's fan only.
And Legions is hardly supported, barely supported. Are they then going to release another game system that's Space Marine or Space Marine that's set in heresy? That surely you're going to be wondering, is it not going to go the same way? Now, do you release a boxed game that works in that environment? Maybe you can do that.
Can you still buy Aeronautica rules?
You can
I think
buy
that's
the heresy
technically
rules.
Aeronautica Imperialis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I bet there's very few people playing that.
Well, indeed, there hasn't been an article about that since 2022.
I saw Nick Baton mentioning, "Do you play Aeronautica?" Something like that. So I didn't read on beyond that, but there's not a good record for non-28 scale
Indeed.
heresy games. For whatever reason. So even if they've invested effort into Gothic
development, doesn't mean it's necessarily going to reach the light of day.
No, are they going to rethink that before putting
do
more
you make
money
the investment
into
in tooling? Yeah, that's the killer.
Yeah. What point do you consider coming out? And I say as a standalone game, I think it's looking less and less likely. Now they could release it tomorrow, but
yes,
I can see more and more. I say more and more reasons why they just wouldn't bother doing it in that format. As you say, could they put out a big box game that has 12, 16 ships in it and has 10 scenarios and off you go, essentially. But just to recoup money on investment if they've been doing it, because again, nothing certain's ever come out about it. Yeah, they could do that, but I certainly wouldn't be holding my breath for a
you raise
game.
an interesting point about box games there,
because one in a while.
Well, exactly. I mean, and the last one, I believe, was perhaps. Where did I hear it? Perhaps wasn't as successful as anyone would have hoped. The what was it? The Warhammer Quest style thing, and they'd obviously been quite bold with what they were doing. It was a bit of a shake-up. It was Olden Demon. That was it. He went in 2-footed on YouTube.
On Dark Water.
Yeah, he went in 2-footed on that over basically the game was borderline unplayable.
Right.
There were certain mechanics that meant that it sort of got stuck in a loop. It's a fantastic video, and I would recommend Olden Demon to anyone who's watching it. But he makes some suggestions of how to change it, but they're pretty significant, and they're quite reasoned, all his thoughts. Either way, I'm not sure how successful that was because it was a chunk of change. It was expensive, and the box games I wonder if that still exists as a department within GW, because you're not seeing those games. Although Kill Team falls under that bracket, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, you also need the people to be able to write the rules, and don't know kind of how they form up anymore because James Stewart obviously moved on, and then Sam, I can't remember his name, moved on. They've got people in there, but are they? Sam wrote. It was Sam, wasn't it? Who wrote?
He wrote Warcry.
Underworld. And he did it, and he basically started it in his own time. It was one of those where it was like, cool, I'm working on this thing. Here's proof of concept kind of thing. What do you reckon? Yes, let's go for it. They have brilliant creative people at GW. Do you still have people doing all that? Do you have an Andy writing Fires of Syraxis, in his own time? Does the format of how GW release rules allow that now? It feels like, where are they? Maybe it doesn't. So, yeah,
Weirdly, I've just gone to the. I haven't done this in a long time because I normally go with shortcuts straight to the bits I need to. But just gone to Warhammer.com, the landing page, and under the initial banner that you've got at the top, you've got shop by setting, and it feels it's more through just it's a feeling that that all the games that are listed there are listed in order of popularity. Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Warhammer Horus Heresy, Warhammer Old World, Middle-earth strategy battle game, Kill Team, because Kill Team continues to go strength to strength, Blood Bowl, Necromunda, Legions Imperialis, and then
for me, Blood Bowl's at the bottom of that second section.
Oh, interesting.
New Blood Bowl.
Yeah,
like it. I don't know if I've got different set. It's got game systems under Middle Earth. It says other games. Go on to that.
Oh well, I'm like halfway down. I'm not. I'm on Warhammer.com. Under the banner, there is a separate left side scrolling thing called Shop by Setting. And then it goes Blood Bowl,
I haven't looked at that.
Necromunda, Legions Imperialis, and then together in a 3 at the end, Titanicus, Underworlds, Warcry. Then Warhammer Colour and Black Library. Here's the paint of the books. But interesting that Titanicus, Underworld, and Warcry are all at the end there, having been sort of sidelined, and you sort of think, oh, is Legions Imperialis moving more to the right or left?
Yeah, maybe. But if you go into the drop-down shop setting,
yes,
then it's game systems, other games,
yes,
and then does them by system with Warhammer, with Blood Bowl at the bottom. So, I see shop by saying, oh yeah, you're there. They're going to have the least. Well, mind you, Black Libraries on that at the end. So
it's amusing that it seems to have been organised by popularity, perhaps if not by sales. And in all of those instances, no mention of Aeronautica Imperialis, which is not entirely surprising, sadly.
No. Anyway, we should probably move on from that. Warhammer TV and Warhammer Plus. So what have we got? Oh, Warhammer Academy. Have you had a look at any of Warhammer Academy?
I have only had a look at Warhammer Academy because there was potentially what appears to be some little hints of what's coming for the Custodes on there. But other than that, no.
I kind of signed in and chosen what I'm interested in, and it's obviously not for me.
Okay.
It's, Academy kind of suggests that it's not for someone who's been in the hobby for far too long. 4 years. Not quite, but close. But it looks pretty good. As far as I can tell, it was all videos. But I like the fact that you've got, as we've talked about before, somewhere to go for the lore. And then you're like, cool, because you go in and you're like, what are you interested in playing? And I was like, oh, Space Marines. Oh, this. Okay, cool. And then it comes up with videos about the lore of Space Marines, and you can go to the all tab and search for everything, but it tailors that to you. I think it's a pretty good place to start. I haven't watched any of it because I haven't had time, but I kind of think it's cool. I think if I had,
a good idea.
My nephew came up to me and said, "Oh, what do you think about Warhammer?" I'll be like, "Well, I'll start here. Have a look at this." Like the how to paint videos were kind of 7 videos or something, all in order of kind of what you're doing.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. Rather than as we've said before, scrolling through YouTube trying to work out based on YouTube title what you're looking at. That's cool. So that's good. We've got Josh Mallet and Richard Gray on the painting desk.
That was cool.
I haven't watched them yet. I need to have a proper binge of Warhammer TV.
Are you a subscriber?
I am.
You're still a subscriber? Okay. Because of course, you get the model and sell it on. Yeah, I remember.
Sell the model, baby. I think last time I'm so effectively, I paid 10, 8, 9, 10, 11 quid for the year. So that's cool, fine, 11 quid. And now you're going to get 2 miniatures.
Yes. Yeah,
so you're going to get Wrath of Macragge.
Price has gone up, but you do get 2 models.
Yeah, exactly. Someone on the Discord was like, "Oh, price gone. Oh, get 2 models for it. That's good." I mean, the Plague dude is amazing. The Age of Sigmar model. But I'm like, I can't even remember the price.
60 quid a year, is it?
It's something like that, isn't it? Sure, I'll find it down here somewhere. 12 months for the price of 9, blah, blah, blah. It's hidden it there. It's written somewhere else. But because you get the email every month now with your discount for Warhammer merch and some downloads for screensavers and things like that, background. But you get you get both the models, and I was like, okay, cool. So I've got 2 models to sell straight away, and I'll make most of my money back. And this yearbook, which is interesting, which is just going to be photos of the models they've released. But hey, guess what? It used to be a popular thing that Games Workshop made.
Yes, so, it's true. Yes.
You know, like it's a weird one. Chuck that in the toilet or on the coffee table, and just have a little look through.
Not in the toilet.
In the bathroom. Apologies. In the lavatory.
Just sounded funny. It just sounded funny. It just says you had a very negative opinion of it. That's all I thought.
No, just have a little browse through it and go, oh yeah, they released it. I mean, now more than ever. Oh yeah, they released that model. But that Sigma model is brilliant. Again, someone else was like, oh yeah, people only ever want the 40k one. I'm like, I think there's been 2 years where people want the 40k one. Sigma model most of the time has been the one to get. But yeah, I'll get mine. I'll sell them, and I'll have 8 lists on my 40k app and my Age of Sigmar app, and get access to all the TV, which I say I'm going to have a bit of a session of watching some of that TV at some point soon, because it is groovy. Okay, and then we had a financial report. Have you had a good chance to look over it?
No, I haven't. I've heard very little chat about it.
There's not a huge amount in it.
Their main thing was the main thing I've seen discussed is over the tariffs into the US and about that being. And Kevin Roundtree saying, I'd quite like to have a year where I thought it would be a little less eventful than the last one, and that hasn't happened yet. There was some impact over the tariffs, and it was like, there was a bit of a share price minor, very minor in the grand scheme of things and in its progress. But the financial press wanted to jump on that and be like, "Oh, darlings of the financial sector."
It's so weird.
Are getting a bit of a shock. And you think, well, are they really?
No.
But that's the main thing I'd heard about it. I hadn't heard much else extracted from
it. It's a really weird one. So I did see some people some Americans going, well, we get our money back because they said they put price up because of tariffs. It's like, well, okay, cool. Like 7.5 million, I think it was, they got back. It's like, that's not going to be a lot over the course of all the orders that were tariffed. So, it is what it is. Also, don't have a go at GW about it.
No, it's not their thing.
Everyone put up tariffs, and it turns out they weren't legal. So, or most of them weren't, or whatever it was. So, it is what it is.
But it's interesting that they're anticipating its impact being greater.
Yes,
they're preparing for it. And what was the other big thing? The other big thing was licensing was down.
Yeah, but they knew it was going to be down. Again, it wasn't.
Yeah, it's not unexpected.
I saw the share. What was really interesting was the share price went down, and I'm like, next 6 months results are going to have Warhammer 40k sales in it. So this is the time to be buying your shares.
Yes, quite. Yeah,
because it's always up on a 40k year.
Yeah,
it always is. They made a point of talking about the models and the IP. Like we have 2 things. We have the world's best models and this amazing IP. And I've seen more people talking about GW should be like, basically it was almost disregarding that the IP is not the thing. Like it's the games and the models, and it's like the
absolutely not.
Games and the models are nothing without the IP.
Yeah, quite.
Like, there are very good games out there.
Yeah.
You name them. Treasure Crusade, War Machine. Well, I don't even know if War Machine's any good or not. But War Machine, Bolt Action, like you name what it is, and people will always say to you, 40k is not even the best war game around.
Yeah.
Cool. It probably isn't. But what it does have is an IP that drags people back in.
100%.
And so he was reiterating that aspect of it. What else do we have? There's like 460 people working in the Warhammer studio in all the different jobs. It's amazing. It's a huge number, and that studio's now spread out a bit more as well, right, over different places. big news for us. I mean, staff members got their $5,000 or whatever it was. Group profit share. It's not bad. Not bad. GW doing well. Anyway, they got a new factory that should be open in 26.
Yes, didn't like it's far away, is it?
No, didn't talk about how many machines, because it's had machinery and packaging, I think. But yeah, it's going to be
one of the facilities has been shifted over to virtually all paint production, I think.
Number 3,
yeah.
Facility 3 is paint production. Yes, so, but they went from, I think I wrote it down here. So they had, they've got 57 current machines working now. And they're working, because the one thing they did a couple of years ago was go 24 hours with them as well, I believe. So, yeah, they made a point a little bit later on of saying that the forecasting team have done a really good job. Not perfect, but they are much happier with kind of the sales they've had and hitting the right kind of amounts. And, their priority is to sell the stuff they make. So they're doing a good job, which can only be helped by having more machinery to do it. And they've also made a note of saying we've been able to provide more product where it's needed than in previous years. So they haven't had those held ups that they've had recently. And there are specific old things which take a while to come back in. We know that. But it's happening less with the big stuff, or when it happens, like what sold out a couple of months ago, then came back in like 2 weeks later in really good quantities. Can't remember what it was, but there was a big set that did that, and it's
Armageddon.
Like, no, I don't know if it was Armageddon. It was something else, but either way, like they seem to be stock availability and forecasting has improved, and they made a point of saying that as well. That just kind of fitted what I've kind of seen from a layman's view from the outside. So yeah, that is what it is. So that's all looking very good. What else we got? The new logistics facility as well. So they've got their big warehouse outside of Nottingham at the East Midlands Gate, or whatever it's called. They've got another one coming outside Nottingham as well. So that's only going to improve stuff once it's up and running. Because they also kind of made mention of that as well, like because we've also been through a period of time where we saw a lot of stuff going wrong with them. Well, not a lot of stuff, but teething problems with the warehouse, with the robot pickers, with all that kind of stuff. They've been doing this in Sydney as well. Sydney, with the warehouse in Australia, which has been going well as well. So they're so well set going forwards, I think. And they've seen, what was it, over 10 years of growth, 102 out of 120 months saw improvement.
Yeah, this is why they're so highly regarded.
And of those 18 that they missed, apparently 4 or 5 of them were COVID. And a couple of them were their American warehouse got snowed in. That's not bad, is it? They've got to be doing something right. They made specific note to say that Heresy is just getting started with what they want to do. So they were obviously, they were the Heresy. I'll try and find it. Licensing, as you say, they knew they were dropping off. I think Space Marine 2 surprised them. They talked about that. Kind of, it did much better than they thought, but they knew they were going to drop off. In regards
I'm not surprised they also mentioned in media there. They mentioned a point about Secret Level doing rather well.
Yeah, a whole Secret Level series.
Yes, because Secret Level did so well, and it continually. Often I will check into Amazon Prime to watch something else, and that was often in the top 10 of being watched. Months and months after it being released. You think, well, okay, that's interesting. That's continued to be there, and it was the Marine tended to be the sort of poster of that image.
Yes, it was.
So that has done extremely well, and must have done in this era of hyper competitive TV rights. That's quite impressive. They've got a second series.
I think you look at the Marine helmet, and actually, like in that environment where you're not seeing it in its environment you always see it, it's pretty iconic, isn't it? Like even if you don't know what it is, it stands out. It's pretty like it's pretty there. Like it grabs you. It's pretty cool. I found it at Horus Heresy. So new edition 25, never seen before, miniatures, blah blah blah. Another standout moment was the release of new Custodes miniatures in the last quarter. Ever popular, received exceptionally well. We're only 3 years in, just getting started with our Horus Heresy offer. So, you know, obviously they got plans for a long time, but I'll be interested to see when we get to stage 2 of Heresy.
Yes.
What we get from that. That'll be really cool. Productions, yeah, sell what we make. Absolutely. Space Wolf setting new records. The Space Wolf sales. Not supposed. Space Wolf set a new record in terms of launch sales. That line was so good. But
well, they smashed it, didn't they?
Yeah, but for that to be, it always makes me laugh when people talk about like what are the most popular chapters, and Space Wolves don't get mentioned as much. I don't know if it's because the people who don't like them really don't like them, but yeah,
I'm surprised at that. I thought they were generally spoken of highly in those terms.
I think miniatures-wise, I think just people don't like Space Wolves. Like there's an element of those Space Wolves, Wolfie, and all those kind of things that get put into it.
Mind you, the people who do like it, I think I've heard Henry talk about this. The people who do like it really like them.
But also, I mean, they're just very popular as well. It's like, Blood Angels are popular, don't get me wrong. But
they were.
Dark Angels are popular, but Dark Angels are nowhere near Space Wolves.
No.
Blood Angels have a very passionate fan, but even then,
they were because they've got a certain nostalgia. But I think they've lost that because I think they've lost their way a bit with that. The design names are like, we're not quite sure what to do with this.
As you say, on top of that, the Dark Angels models they released were cool. The Blood Angels were lacking. And then what are you left with?
In a coolness factor for sure, and Space Wolves knocked it out of the park.
And Space Wolves really knocked it out of the park. And I suspect as well for a lot of people, there's the extras you can do with Space Wolves more than like it's almost like Nurgle, like Chaos people who want to do painting and want to do extra stuff often go to Nurgle. I can put tentacles on this guy and do this and that and that. And Space Wolves, if you really want to go to town with a Space Wolf, cool, you can chuck on all the runes, you can do the hair, you can do the beard, you can do a wolf with him, you can do there's just so many more options if you want to go that way. But yeah. But that, I mean, I'm not going to go. Okay, so profits are up. Licensing will improve when they release their new games because they've got a few coming. Dawn of War going to sell. Total War Warhammer 40k is going to sell.
Yeah,
they're going to earn a lot from that. My Warhammer's up. Like the general trend is up, doing very well. Their cash reserves are up. All those little things. When you read about that stock price going down, and I get it, there are other things, but it's like I'm not too sure. Like all the problems that GW are going to face are the ones they've been facing for 20 years now. Computer gaming and all that kind of thing. They're used to it. They're on it. So
interesting that in manufacturing that the production costs have increased by 1.8 million, but mainly due to the vast majority of that is 1.5 million increase in staff costs.
Yeah, well, I think
they're investing in people, presumably.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember when they went to 3 shifts. Which obviously really ramps up the cost, but also produces a lot more stuff. But they've also probably had to train and everything else as well with all these new abilities they've got. It's interesting to see that because they're already got they've spread over a little bit into the other industrial site. I think they haven't got much more room where they are. I don't know I can't remember where that other 4th factory was going. And I'm kind of interested to know how many machines they're putting in as well.
Yeah,
just
it says here they've got 62 running now.
Was it 62? Was it?
Yeah, it says here factory 2 to allow more injection. We now have 62 injection molding machines, up 7 in the period reported.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. F1 is a tool room, 40 injection. F2 has 17 injection machine. Also the main pack of cells. So yeah. The Easter Park is the one like on the opposite side of the road, opposite side of the tram lines where they do
Right.
the
Yeah.
paint and stuff. I think. And then we have a new factory F4 which is in fit out phase. Yeah. So tool machine, molding machines, and tool room. So there we go. Lots going on. Like if you're into this kind of thing, I think it was like a really solid kind of. We're doing the things we're doing. They're restructuring a little bit as well, which is quite interesting. I think I don't know if there was a couple of bits, and maybe I'm reading more into it that's kind of seemed to think like, oh, maybe top level management is thinking about how much longer they've got here.
Oh, interesting.
But that could be me reading between the lines and reading completely something wrong. But they've definitely got into a lot of restructuring around different aspects of it. Trying to, yeah, maybe I've got it completely wrong. I don't know where I put that actually. Where I find that, but it'll be interesting. I've heard little things about certain, well, not certain, but a top member of staff maybe moving on, but it's rumor, so who knows? But I think when you look at where this company was when this management took over, they had a very solid platform. It maybe wasn't exciting or adventurous, but it was a very solid platform, I think, and they've flown with it. I think GW's in good hands. And then on top of all that, because we got a little bit of news about the, as you say, the projects, because there's an animated series coming to Amazon as well, Deathwatch.
Yes, indeed.
Which is pretty amazing. That
To be that mainstream, yeah.
In
an era when you don't have to be.
No. But you look at, I wonder if, and I wonder if, I've probably said this before, if Critical Role has helped this, because Critical Role had a dedicated group of fans that went and spent the money to they raised $30 million or whatever it was to get Vox Machina made. And then Amazon came on, then it became bigger, and then all of a sudden you've got 4 series of Vox Machina, and you've got Mighty Nine, and whatever else they're planning, and it's niche. And then they start talking to Games Workshop about Warhammer, and all of a sudden you're thinking, well, if Critical Role did very well. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of Warhammer fans out there. If you can replicate that, even 75% of that, you've got a pretty big hit on your hands in an environment where everyone's fighting for those eyeballs to come and sign up. That's pretty cool. So we've got that coming, which is awesome. And then Henry Cavill, they've got a director, Mike Flanagan. Have you seen any Mike Flanagan films?
I don't think so. When I was looking into this the other day and started, but I found it interesting that they appointed a horror or someone who is mainly known for horror.
So what we got here? The Life of Chad, Absentia, Indie Supernatural Horror, Oculus. I've heard of Oculus. Hush, Before I Wake.
In fact, I think Clayface could be a big deal, which is his film coming out later this year. There's the trailer for that looks cool. Proper deep body horror.
A Life of Chuck, genre fantasy drama based on Stephen King's novella, as well as Haunting of Hill House, Haunting of Bly Manor. I saw someone retweet a photo which was like, "Oh, Mike Flanagan's involved." Well, I hope your viewers like a bunch of characters with daddy issues. And the reply was, "Well, let me tell you." So yeah, cool. They seem to be putting
It's
on.
a very
and
interesting choice, isn't it? Very interesting choice that it's
Yeah.
gone into someone with that pedigree. I think that's quite an interesting choice rather than sort of action or sci-fi. Even
I
you
wonder
see
if
that
they've
you've gone
got,
horror.
and he's involved with the writing as well. So I wonder if he's got a background with it. And Henry Cavill's going to be taking the lead role, which is a secret for now.
But he released
Yeah.
because something got. How did he put it when he put the Instagram? When Henry Cavill put the post out, he put something like something got ahead of us or
News
something.
got ahead of us last week.
Yeah, news got ahead of us. So he put out a bit of an update and a post. That was because it was Instagram. It was led with an image or a reel, and it was a rotating Aquila badge, gold Aquila badge, with I forget what was on one side, but an inquisitorial rosette on the other side. And I thought, okay,
it's just the winged skull on the other one.
which is just winged skull. So it was interesting that was rotating. And so I wonder if that's anything. I mean, it could be highly generic, but could be a thing because the obvious choices would be him playing Titus or him playing Eisenhorn. Could be either. Could be neither. Yeah, be interesting to see where that goes. But quite exciting that he put it, and it certainly seemed to get a lot of attention online, unsurprisingly.
Yeah. Liked by someone I know and 957,000 other people. It's not bad. I hope they don't do Inquisitor. Don't do Eisenhorn.
No, I'm not sure that's the best entry point. A lot of people say it is, but I just like, well, is it though? Is it as immediately? I mean, it's a good long game, but I don't know. I'd be happy with it.
I know people talk about it as being the ideal intro into 40k. I'm not 100% sure it is anymore. I think it's quite dated. I also don't think it's the best written. I think Dan's written so much better. I think it does certain things well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that. I quite enjoy it. But I wonder if you would pick something else now. I think even something like Hive, someone who reads, to introduce them to 40k, to introduce a reader to 40k, something like Hive would be a better option than Eisenhorn. I know that's blasphemy to a lot of people. Gaunt's Ghosts, potentially, but again, there's like kind of sort of issues with the first two books.
I agree. I think it again it hits its stride later. It's a hard one to pick up. I mean, you could obviously adapt it with a screenplay and similar, but still, I think there would be criticisms from a wider audience of it being derivative.
But this is, yeah, for sure. I think I think I would prefer a unique story. I think you go with the guard and you choose what to highlight, and you don't attach it to something because would it be bad enough? But you get that threat of Warhammer fans going, "Oh my god, they changed everything. It's totally rubbish." As soon as you get a little bit of that buzz, it does seep through to some people. I was at work the other day and someone says, "Have you seen this? Oh, be careful because it's not what you think." And I'm like, "You don't know what I think that their film's going to be like." But also, just let me do my thing. Luckily, you're not going to put me off going to watch it, but you could easily do that even without intending to. So if you come up with something, I mean, the way Henry's talked there, I don't know. It could be anyone, but it is what it is. I mean, I'll go and watch it. It's going to be better than Space Marine movie, isn't it? So.
Yes. In short, yes, it is.
A misstep. Anyway, we have talked a long time. Let us break this off. Hello, this is Future Greg, just dropping in here to say I apologise for the sound in this episode. I'm not quite sure what happened, but on the recording, Howard was coming in extremely hot. I think I'd accidentally knocked my settings on my headphones, So yeah, Howard is coming in extremely hot. I did what I could with that noise, and then the computer will do its thing. I haven't finished editing yet, obviously, because I need to put this in there, or try and do what I can do in post to try and fix that. But otherwise, I think the talk's worth it. I think it's okay. It's not the best. I get it. I can only offer my apologies. We can't go back and re-record it. I will endeavour to do better next time, and I will go away now and self-flagellate about that. So back to Howard and Greg. Okie dokie. Journal Tactica Zone Mortalis.
It's an important differentiation there, isn't it?
It is. It is. I did I was going to go through and have the old rules up in front of me. The what do you call them? The extended rules. What do they call them now? My word. This early into the segment, I can't remember my words.
I know what you mean. It's the sort of the optional rules, advanced rules. What is the word?
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
it
they
is
weren't called
extended.
advanced rules, are they? They're something else. Anyway, I could probably find them on the downloads if I really looked hard. Legacy rules.
Mm.
There we go. Legacy rules. Is that the one? Anyway, it's all fun. It's all very much fun. So, I mean, Zone Mortalis came in originally back with Badab, didn't it?
Yes, I think that was the first
Yes.
exploration. It is expanded rules, by the way. It's core and expanded rules. Expanded
There we go.
rules.
I thought they had another word for the actual downloads.
The legacies is very
the
specific
legacies,
to that
yeah.
mega PDF,
Exactly.
but everything that's not
Anyway.
at a core publication is an expanded rule, apparently.
There we go. So there's too many different terms going on. It's all a little bit confusing. But yes, so redone in book format. First question for a lot of people is, why am I now having to pay for rules that were free? It's like, well, it's not quite the same. The standard rules are fairly much the same, but there's a few changes and then some more scenarios, things like that added in. Also, if you have those downloads and you're quite happy with them, then you don't have to pay for them, do you?
Yeah, crack on.
Just keep what you had. So, oh yeah, I've never fully understood that. You don't have to go and buy this book. And some people don't play Zone Mortalis. Some people think it's the best form of Warhammer. In fact, and it's always been well regarded, I think, by certain groups, right from its inception, and then really with Heresy is then where it lived. 40k ended up getting its what did they call that? The ship battles one, wasn't it? Assault.
Boarding
They
actions.
had boarding actions. There we go. Had boarding actions, which was variant on a theme, which a lot of people liked. But yeah, Zone Mortalis has very much been a Heresy thing. Had you played much Zone Mortalis? Have you played it?
I don't think I actually got around to playing it before because I didn't know anyone who had a board. I didn't have one myself.
Sure.
So I would never played that. I did play, I think, a game of regular Heresy rather than that on the board that you brought over. But never played it as full Zone Mortalis. And so I hadn't played it, but I followed it quite closely purely because of how recommended it was and how many people I heard waxing lyrical about it. And that seems to be even more true now.
Yes. I think if you go back to first edition Zone Mortalis for Heresy, it was a way of playing smaller battles that wasn't really out there until you had some fan-made things come along, like Centurion. But Zone Mortalis was set up for smaller battles, concentrate on infantry. Centurion was, for those who aren't aware, was fan-made by the Aussies and was very much about having your games look like second edition games. So the odd small tank, maybe. One dreadnought and troops basically. Whereas Zone Mortalis does that almost by default. Like you can take dreadnoughts. There are restrictions on how they work, and they've been different over the different editions. But it was very much down to your troops on the board, which was cool. And it was smaller points, so took was easier to get to, easier to bring out, slightly quicker to play. Terrain has always been the issue in inverted commas with Zone Mortalis, and now possibly even more so, because while Zone Mortalis has always been kind of mainly featured as close confinement building or spaceship or whatever, right from, was it the Amphelion project it was brought in on?
Yes,
Or
I
was
think
it
so.
Badab? Yeah, it might have been Amphelion, yeah.
Was it? That's a good
Or was it,
question. Anyway,
no, did Amphelion have something slightly different? And then
I think that
Badab
was a
had,
slightly more
I
specific
think
thing.
that's what it
Badab
was.
probably had the earliest
Yeah,
version
and
of
then
it.
Badab had it in. But it was always kind of picked that way. But the very first kind of official things, I mean, originally it was part of a battle. You could have a Zone Mortalis area as part of your bigger battlefield. So there was that aspect to it, but it was very much those bits were designed to be a certain way. But actually, the rules were done in such a way that you weren't confined, pun not intended, confined to a confined space. And I've said a number of times on the show, one of my favourite events was playing Zone Mortalis at Adepticon, and first Zone Mortalis table I played on was actually, it was Zone Mortalis because of high winds and high ledges and things like that. Zone Mortalis basically just means dangerous, deadly battlefield. The first thing I think I noted with this book, and it was, to be fair, it was in the previous PDF, is it defines Zone Mortalis as an enclosed space, room-to-room warfare. At the very least inside some kind of structure. Now, that doesn't mean you can't take these rules and play them somewhere else, but they've been designed specifically, and probably were beforehand, but they're making it very clear that this is the way we've designed this game. And, many of the rules will reflect that. But you can still do fun things, I think, with that. Beyond that, not many rules have changed from the first iteration, have they? For the
No,
first iteration in this edition.
it's sort of tweaks, isn't it? It's adjustments to it and clarifications. I think it's very much the same in essence, for sure, of what it's been.
Yeah.
And I generally agree with where it's going. It's presumably just addressing things that have come up repeatedly in games.
Yeah, the feel of Zone Mortalis in that respect has never really changed. They've done well with that. Haven't had a chance to play this version. Seen people talking about it and things like that, and reading through it, getting an idea of it. Yeah, they took the opportunity to do things like they breach charges were D6 damage, and now they're D3 plus 3. So one thing with Zone Mortalis can be getting stuck on doors. It's the old D&D problem, and that can make a game feel a little bit if you end up wasting turns in what is quite a limited time game. Like if you can move quickly through the thing, you're going to have more chance of getting where you need to be. Resiliency and speed are two different ways to do the job, kind of thing. So things like that is cool. But essentially, if you've read that PDF, it's pretty much the same game.
Yes, I mean it's tweaks and adjustments across editions even to allow you to do it. List construction is addressed more significantly in this book, I would say, which I think opens up quite a bit actually in the way you play the game, the way you approach the game. But the core mechanics haven't changed significantly, I don't think.
Yeah, and I don't know how much we want to go into that really. This isn't brand new book out because we had to go and buy it and then work it out. But from a very over top view, you've got a ceiling. You can fire barrage weapons, but they have to be direct. Walls will affect not just line of sight, but grenades, so they can't bounce through a wall or anything like that. You can have barricades and give cover saves. Doorways are an important factor, always have been, and there are various ways of opening the door permanently or turning it on and being able to move through it, or having kind of banks which you can control opening doors, things like that. No flyers. It's a simple thing, but you've got to put it in there. I do like within this edition of the rules that we have. I mean, blasts have always worked slightly differently, and some weapons have been better. And at one point we had the open void, didn't we? Rules as well, which was you're fighting in a spaceship and there's a hole, so there's no atmosphere. So there were different rules involved in that as well. I do like the two things this edition does: confined space.
Yes.
So every doorway, every area is given a confined space value. And the idea is that anything below that confined space value, in terms of its what do we call it, roll?
Bulky roll.
Yeah, bulky. That's the one. Can move through that area absolutely fine. But once you get beyond or equal to or beyond that, it becomes either impassable or doors reduce movement. So you can squeeze through a door. A Terminator can squeeze through a door, but it's going to slow them down. That kind of thing.
We played this because I have had the opportunity to play this game quite recently, and thoroughly enjoyable it was too. But part of that was defining areas. So it's kind of immediately obvious how you do that with doors, and you're encouraged to do that. You need to do that with rooms as well. But it was interesting doing that with kind of openings in spaces as well. We played on a Necromunda style. I think it was using the Necromunda plastic tiles with the walls dropped on top of it. It wasn't super dense, but it was about what I would call medium. I've seen more dense ones, and I think that would actually be more entertaining. This one had quite big spaces in it, and some of those, where previous editions had, I think, used the base size as part of that. Now it's been much more codified. So there were a couple of points where my opponent Grant, he was defining some of the openings that could have otherwise been doorways, which we didn't have doors for. He was saying, well, let's count each 2-inch square as sort of contributing to two bulky points, if you like. So it meant that an opening, even though it didn't have a door in it, could be defined as saying, well, that's the equivalent of bulky 6 or bulky. The word isn't the right word there. And it was very effective as a way of doing that, because it meant that some of these openings, even though the spaces beyond were technically possible for his Leviathan to be in, he couldn't get through the opening to get into it, to sort of suggest somehow that there was perhaps an archway there over what was otherwise a clear opening. And it was particularly things where it was a bit tight for the base. So having a discussion about that with the board, I think, is essential beforehand, and how you're going to approach it. Otherwise, you're going to get into difficulty running through. But it does make the whole game really quite kind of interesting, and as from the point of list construction onwards, really. Do you take something that's going to be really significant? I mean, that Leviathan he took in that was a hugely important item, because it tied up one side of the board almost by its presence. But I knew it wasn't going to go to a few places, which is an interesting puzzle to kind of unlock.
Yeah, and you say even though you're too big to move through a doorway, you could still, or an opening, you can still stand in that opening and provide threat or deterrent, which is pretty good to do. So it's, if you're bigger than the bulky value, you can squeeze through. If you're double the number, then it's impassable. Which is, it's a nice way to do things. So when you're setting up your board, and as you say, again, it's designed with those tiles in use, so you can kind of, each tile could potentially have their own bulky rules. Like you can have sunken roofs, things like that. Like it's been hit from above and the ceiling's dropped, or or whatever you want to do with it. Or you can look at the corridors and be like, okay, cool, this is a main thoroughfare. This is going to have our largest bulky thing because it's what's designed to push through people through. So these doorways are going to be bigger than the other doorways without necessarily having to make them that much bigger. And then off this main corridor, we're going to have smaller rooms. So we're going to reduce the size in those, or central room, or however you deem it appropriate. Obviously, I've seen tables with a little bit more, Thunderhawks parked on them. That area is probably going to be slightly easier to traverse than the cogitator room, where there's machinery everywhere, piping, all those things that can get in the way. So it's a pretty good way of doing it. My only concern would be you need to make it easily identifiable.
Yes.
So that is what
you could almost do it. You could almost do it with maps, couldn't you? Or something, a little map that each person has, like a little mission briefing thing. Particularly if you started getting into something, because what you're describing there, like hangar bays and things. The missions that are included with this, and the sort of what you might consider the sort of core, or the starter missions, if you will, are based around a board size of 3 foot by 4 foot, which is quite a difference to what it was, being 6 by 4 previously. That's sort of somewhat, or could limit your scope somewhat in saying, well, this is an embarkation deck from the books or whatever, or one of those some of those main spinal thoroughfares. You're like, well, then we're not. If this isn't quite the Zone Mortalis idea or spirit, but if you then start creating your custom missions where your board does have a portion like that, like you say, you suddenly break into a loading bay that's suddenly enormous. That becomes it, or that's the point. That's your entry point almost. This gives you a toolkit to define those, your custom missions or otherwise, which would be great. Because you can still take grab vehicles and stuff. You can still take these. You're right, aircraft are out, but you can take fast skimmers and things. If you go over 9 inches, it's a risky business. You're rolling the dice. It might go
goes over 9 inches.
Yeah, anyone or anything goes over 9. So there's a risk reward thing, which I quite like the idea of. Even in these vast open spaces, you're still on a starship. If you're flying, flying a jet bike around in a embarkation deck at full combat speed, you may well clip a crane or an ammo crate or something like that. So it's still perfectly effective, I think, as a rule, but it does give you scope. The toolkit gives you plenty of scope to create your own missions.
Back in the day, it was always that thing was, oh yeah, but the White Scars can use their jet bikes in the book Scars. So why can't I use my White Scars in the trenches or the ship or the whatever it is? So yeah, you can do that now.
You can.
It's cool. I think at the end of the day, again, all these general tacticas we looked at are great starting points. I think they are, if you are the kind of people who want to do these kind of missions, some people don't. Simple as that. Some people are quite happy playing set missions. Some people want to take things further. If you're the kind of person who wants to take these further, having these books on your shelf is, again, the building blocks of doing that. So this book particularly, if you are in a group that does campaigns, things like that, then, you've got this book, you play through it, and then you can make your own thing. You can have, you can play out an assault on a spaceship, and you can have your first mission being the attacking forces coming straight out of their Dreadclaw or whatever it is into, they've gone deep into the heart of the ship. And then the next mission can be okay, they've progressed and there's the target. And then you can either have it like complete the target, they need to get off, or things have gone wrong, they need to retreat. And then you can have, okay, they can't get back to their ship, they can't get back to this. All of a sudden you've got to fight your way out, and your last mission could be just running through the deck, trying to get to their ship, trying to get a ship. Maybe it's the enemy ship to get off. So you can play in a game where it is more open, and it can still be Zone Mortalis.
Yeah, one of the other rules I thought was particularly good, which the previous editions wouldn't have had in quite the same way, is because you've got these advanced statistics and statuses. psychology is playing quite a role, and that
Yes.
idea that you can trigger because of the intensity of these environments that they're fighting in. And I think this added quite a bit because it started making you think about how you were deploying your forces and how you were moving them around. A unit being routed can trigger panic in nearby units if they themselves have already got a status. So there's the addition of those statuses, and it does make you think quite carefully about how you deploy your units and how you're moving them around. Because as you've got these bottlenecks and things that where you're often throwing multiple units in towards those bottlenecks, it's making you not only think about, well, do I do this because am I exposing myself to something, particularly if they've started to have the yellow card of having some statuses on them already, but it also makes you in your unit, in your army creation, you're thinking, I want to stick some flamers in there. I want to stick something that's going to be starting causing, or grav guns. It's going to start causing some statuses, so that if someone does run, you could have a whole flank collapse as everyone starts to route through each other. I think that idea, it's not like game changing. It's not overpowering by any stretch, but it adds quite a cool thing, and it's very atmospheric. The idea of like the lights blinking on and off and stuff, very alien kind of feeling to it.
It takes some setting up as well.
Yeah.
To have them you've got to hit the back unit that's got to be under a status before the front unit runs back through it.
Yeah.
It's great. I always used to love the panic rules in Warhammer. You could really use them to some good effect. And you can understand that in a Zone Mortalis environment, whether it's just people thinking, oh, we shouldn't be here, like it's all going a bit wrong, we need to get back to somewhere to recover, regroup, then it's all part of that. Cool. Reserves.
Oh, yes, that's huge.
You can have lots of reserves in Zone Mortalis. And there are different ways to bring them on. So we have reserve stratagems. So every unit that is in reserves, before making a reserve test for each unit that reserves that turn, the controlling player must select a reserve stratagem to apply to that unit for that turn, blah, blah, blah. And there are different target number rolls and different effects. So, reinforcements. Standard reinforcements. On a 3+, no additional modifiers. If it's successful, you may choose to either leave that unit that was selected in reserves or immediately bring it into play from the reserves at any point on their battle edge. Nice and straightforward. It's interesting that they make you roll and then you decide whether to leave it there or not.
Yes.
Like, why don't, that was you may choose not to roll for this unit.
Yes.
Because, oh well, here's what it is. Anyway, so normal reserves. Forced march on a 2+. So if you want your troop, if you definitely want to get them on the board, then it's if you have the heavy subtype, you're at -1 to that roll, so back to a 3 up. So probably not much point in doing it. If it's successful, you can leave the unit off or bring them on from your point of battle edge. Once all models are placed, you must immediately make a willpower check for that unit. If it's failed, you gain the pin status. So a little bit of a risk for +1 to come on. I'll take that. There'll be times when that's really useful. There'll be times when it will curse you for failing your willpower check, but you play the game. Encirclement. 4+, heavy -1, so 5+ for them. You may bring the unit into play from any point on the opposing player's battlefield edge. Charge may not be declared from a unit at the same time it's deployed this way. So 4+ to scoot across the board. Pretty powerful ability.
Yes, it is.
Especially, this is any unit, isn't it? So there's no, if you're taking, I don't know what, so vets with some disintegrators or something like that. That's a pretty tough strike unit. Or I say if there is, if you are putting pressure on, you think people are going to retreat, and you can bring on some non-heavy terminators.
4+ is just what's so compelling about that.
Yeah,
the fact that it's
4+.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite tempting. If that was a 5+, which some of these stratagems coming up will be, but that one at 4+ on your opponent's board edge, that's pretty significant, particularly given the way some of these missions work. where you may well have taken a tactical squad or two to hold back.
Sat them on, yeah.
Yeah, and you're not claiming it. There's no objectives, but it's sector control. So you've got a couple of tactical squads back, which are very comfortably contributing to keeping you in control of a sector. And suddenly something turns up, as you say, as a tactical support squad turns up and hoses them with plasma or whatever, or something just even turns up as a despoiler squad or something and just bullies them off. It's quite compelling at 4+.
Or something that starts throwing out status effects.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. That's cool. And then, so as an aside to that one, the flanking force again 4+. This time, if you're heavy, you're -1. But if you have models with outflank, you're +1 to this. If you're successful in your role, you can bring the reserves on from either battlefield flank edge with no charge. If you've got some outflanking units, that's not a 3+. That's your basic reinforcement role anyway.
Yeah.
So it's giving you the outflank ability without, it's giving everyone the ability to do it, but giving the people with outflank the regular ability to do it, which is nice. Like they're getting their rule at no cost.
I think these little modifiers based on your type is quite clever. I think that's quite smart. It's quite elegant, I should say.
I wonder if there are more that could be played with on that.
I think so, and it's noticeable at the start of this. It says these are the reserve stratagems that are in this book. We may add more later, and I thought that's quite cool.
Classic GW. You've got to leave that game design space available.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. So mass elevator. So you must have an elevator type thing in your mission to do this. But 3+, you can enter play from any point on the battlefield designated as an elevator platform. So they've got one specific mission, haven't they?
Yeah.
Nexus are in for that, but doesn't mean you can't just throw a mass elevator onto your table. And again, you can have the attackers finally getting there, getting towards their target, and then the defenders utilizing the mass elevators have, organized their defense. So something like that is a nice, easy way. And then teleport strike. So all models in the select team must have the infantry type and deep strike special rule. So 3+, and may not, but no models may have the anti-grav. So you can't, making sure you're teleporting, not anti-graving in. So 3+, if the result of the reserves taken is a 1 before any modifiers are applied, you suffer a teleport strike mishap and you're removed from reserve and count as destroyed. So 1 in 6 chance of death.
Yeah.
Nice.
Old school.
Although they don't give victory points up.
No, that's true.
So that's good. If you're successful, you get to place them on as if you're deep striking. But don't have to take dangerous terrain tests on the turn they arrive. It's pretty good.
That's surprisingly challenging to get in tighter boards to actually find the space to sort of deploy them like that. But I mean, they're not.
If you're talking about 5 Terminators or 4 Terminators in some of the elite units, then it's could you imagine some Saturnine coming in, that kind of thing.
Yes, and the rules are quite clear over if you can't fit everything in the way it should be, then it is lost. I brought in the game I was playing, I think I brought in 7 or 8 Reavers, Sons of Horus Reavers. And that was surprisingly challenging because I wanted to get them close enough that they could use the flamer that they'd brought. Sure. Close enough so that a subsequent charge wouldn't be too hard, but equally trying to fit them in a corridor but still be within range of the guys that they wanted to flame. That was quite tricky. So you've got to think that thing through. What I quite like about these whole reinforcement things, these stratagems, is you choose them at the point that you're making the reserve roll. It's not like you've got to declare it on your army list or anything. You say, right, these guys are going to be, before you've even played the game, you're saying these guys are going to outflank or whatever. You can do it and presumably could therefore change it turn by turn.
Change it. That turn, yeah. So yeah, you can try for a flanking force, and if it fails, you could pull back.
So I need this to be more guaranteed now. Important thing with that teleport strike is because there's relatively few units that come with deep strike. There is a new prime advantage.
Yeah.
Which that allows you to put deep strike on it. Well, they're called teleport transponders. So it's something for if you've got a unit in a prime slot, which is where the Zone Mortalis specific force organization charts are very handy because they've got prime slots in quite useful places, not on commanders only, for example. That unit gains the deep strike special rule.
Yeah, it allows you to plan a specific kind of method of fighting if you want to do that. So
and opens up your options. Like I say, I wouldn't normally be able to deep strike Reavers, for example, but that worked a treat for them. I did think, because I read the prime advantage before reading the teleport strike rule, I thought, that's cool, my dreadnought is going to teleport in. That's not a thing, because it's got to be infantry type and deep strike special rule, which does not apply to dreadnoughts.
Which is not quite a shame. But what it does do is it allows you, like, the one problem I do see talked about, and we might get onto this later, but basically speed is important because of the way objectives are scored. So it hello, Future Greg here. The sound cut out. I can't even remember what I was going to say. But we moved on to talking about the reactions here. As I'm sure you can tell, I don't think you missed a huge amount. So you get a shrouded 6-up special rule after moving a number of inches equal to the roll of a d6. So someone chooses to shoot you, 1 reaction point, you roll a d6, you can move, and you get a shrouded special rule. But you can move around corners, can't you?
You can, and that's particularly potent in this movement. Even that short range movement, I think, is super, super powerful.
Especially because there's nothing, the shooting unit can't change target.
No.
So if you have a unit behind them, they are safe.
Yes.
It's a powerful ability.
Yes, it is. I was just rereading through it. Yeah, it is. Given the way these corridors are, particularly for small units, it's a very good way of helping out small units. Like a 10-man squad that's in a corridor, you may not be able to get them all back round a corner. 5-man squad, you probably can.
Yeah, because under these rules, if you can see the unit, you can kill the unit.
Yeah.
But yeah, 5-man squad might be able to duck out, or smaller. Again, if you're
using indeed. Yeah.
Or you could always move forwards.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Like there are, it says take cover, but that could be head down, shield up.
Yeah.
Walking into the enemy as well. So you can play it a slightly different way if you want to risk that. That's cool. Bypass cogitator. So target unit, blah 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 blah. At least one model with a Battlesmith X special rule, and basically you get a chance to open some doors.
Yes, I sort of lent into this a little bit with the list. One of the lists I put together for the game we were doing. I had my Sons of Horus, and I brought an allied detachment of Mechanicum to bring a couple of tech priests specifically to do this because it was more efficient than bringing a tech marine because that was quite challenging. Well, I wondered, yeah, but I quite like the idea of them bringing a couple of little sort of thralls with them.
Why would a well-planned assault not bring?
Well, exactly. Particularly, I mean, there are tech priests in Saturnine, for example, on board those transports. So I thought it was quite cool to do something like that. But I didn't. Well, it might be because of the way we were rolling. We had 5 computer terminals. 4 of them blew up in the game, including putting a wound on his Praetor, who tried to do this. My opponent, his Emperor's Children Praetor, tried to interface with one of these things. I did get it to go off, but it's probably because of the board we had. I don't think the board, as I said before, I don't think it was quite dense enough. On a more dense board, no, I think a more dense board or with more doors, this could be huge.
Sure.
But it wasn't hugely significant.
And we'll talk about missions as well, because mission design might change that.
Yeah.
Because certainly in previous Zone Mortalis, you'd often have like one of the main objectives in a room, like locked away in a room. So you had to open the doors to interact with it. Whereas, as you say, there's a lot of area scoring,
Yes.
which is less reliant on the ability to open doors, things like that. In terms of missions, before we get into the missions themselves, we have the mission rules. Set up the table, all that usual stuff. We do have the sudden death rule in play, don't we?
Yes.
Which, it's important to remember, I think, particularly when you're in smaller games, because you get you expose yourself a little bit too much, and it can really hurt you.
Yes.
In a game with fewer models, so I think that's important. Clearance protocols. So primary objective and secondary objectives. So these play across the missions. What we got? Blood for the Blood God. 1 victory point when the last model of an enemy unit is removed as a casualty outside of the challenge subphase. Vanguard extra. Blah blah blah. That's a clearance protocol primary objective, and the secondary objective being sector domination. So victory points equal to the value of X during each player's subphase for each sector of the battlefield they dominate. If the number of units of any sector is greater than the number of enemy units in that sector. So simple, isn't it? It's like value up your units. I'm controlling the sector, sure. And then Slayer of Champions. Each time the model is the winner of a challenge and the unit that model is returned to in the following resolution is declared the winner of the combat. The controlling player gains victory points equal to the value of X. Whatever Slayer of Champions is. Appended in the instance of this secondary objective. An additional +1 victory point if the model removed as a casualty has the Paragon type. So slaying champions becomes a greater thing.
Yes. And I quite like that those two are variable, obviously, because they have both sector domination X, Slayer of Champions X. So depending on the mission, they can be scaled up or down. Where that becomes particularly interesting is of the 6 missions they give you, which I think is quite good in this book, 5 out of the 6 have blood for blood as the primary objective, as it is here. And sector domination is quite literally that secondary. There's one mission which flips that on its head, and then sector domination jumps to being value of 10, which is really quite interesting. It just parks blood for blood, and it says basically you have to essentially render the enemy to so few that they can't control the board, because there's only one sector, which is the whole board. So you basically just have to outnumber the enemy at the end.
And it's important to remember, so this is Zone Mortalis Clearance Protocol Mission Pack.
Yes.
So this whole mission pack is about clearance protocol. So blood for the Blood God, sector dominate, that makes sense in that kind of environment going forwards. Hopefully see different Zone Mortalis packs providing different ways of winning the game. So I think that would be important as well, because otherwise you are playing the same mission on different maps.
Yes.
Or it's not quite. I'm being a bit,
It's a bit. That's a simplistic way of it, but I know what you mean.
With it, but variations on that theme. Okay, so Zone Mortalis special rules, Abyssal Darkness. So these are rules that can apply during the mission to different areas, things like that. So Abyssal Darkness is a maximum of 6 inches line of sight. That's pretty small.
It is, and crucially, that comes into play. I actually think this was one of the more significant things, because those cogitators I was talking about are a thing. They're a special rule that part of Zone Mortalis, and I was getting it. As I was in the game, getting that a bit confused with that new advanced reaction, that thing that allows you to open and close things. I was thinking, you need to use the advanced reaction to interface with the computer. No, you don't.
Yeah.
The cogitator, the bypass cogitator thing can be done from anywhere. So it's representing the battlesmith hacking the Wi-Fi and opening and closing doors. Great. Also very handy to do that to close a door in someone's face. That's the purpose of that advanced reaction. The cogitators, to actual access them, which carries some risk, and we'll come to that when we get to that bit. But that, in addition to allowing you to open and close doors on certain results, it allows you to turn the lights on and off, which allows you to plunge part of the battlefield, a sector, which is different, I believe, to previous editions of the game, where it used to be sort of given rooms, into abyssal darkness. So, which is really interesting because I had the option to do that on one occasion in the game. I thought, oh, this could be quite handy because he's got a unit of cacophony, noise marines, throwing out loads of things. I was like, great, I'll just turn the lights off. But then I realised, well, that means I can't charge them. So it was an interesting decision of that because
unless you get within 6 inches.
Well, indeed, yeah. But so there's times when that's going to be incredibly useful. It would also force someone to move a lot of units potentially because it suddenly messes things up. It entirely depends what you're facing, of course. It's a situation, but it's quite cool to have the option.
Because it is risky because the lights could turn back on, but the ability to turn the lights off in an area in front of the enemy, and then put your troops into that area, and then hope the lights don't get turned back on and then fly out of it.
Yeah,
is a very powerful thing. Well, why don't we do cogitated terminals here? So these are, you have to be base to base, and your movement in base to base. And you take an interface test, roll 2d6 and subtract the result from the current value of the model's intelligence characteristic, and then consult the table. So, -2 or less. Malicious input detected, so you've rolled badly. The interface test is failed. The model for which the interface check was suffered makes 3 hits, strength 4, AP dash damage of 1, and you've broken that cogitated terminal for the rest of the battle. It's not good, but you have to roll pretty poorly for that, don't you?
Yes, which we did repeatedly.
Yeah. There we go. -1, failed interface. All doors on the battlefield are immediately set to the closed state, and any further interface tests taken at this cogitator are modified by an additional -2. That could be really annoying if you're trying to get through. Ironically, sometimes you want to close some doors.
Yeah, you might be okay with that.
Good thing. Yeah. A 0 interfacing is failed, no further effect, but -2 to any further tests. 1 access granted. You're successful. You can select one doorway that's closed and change it to open.
Notice there it doesn't say you
open,
can't.
Not
Exactly.
Open to closed.
Exactly.
Interesting. Number 2, welcome adept. 1 doorway and change its state to any state, and may select one section of the battlefield screen an abyssal darkness special rule or lose it. And then 3+ debug protocols online. Control may select up to 3 doorways and change the state, up to 3 sections of the battlefield to gain the abyssal. Additionally, all interface tests made by the controller player are at +1 until that player makes a failed interface test. And all interface tests made by opposing players are modified by -2. Wow. That is a pretty big roll. So what are you doing? You're rolling 2d6 and taking away your intelligence. So
No. That's what we did, and this is why we failed. You roll 2d6 and you subtract that from your intelligence because you get it the wrong way round. Being higher intelligence is worse. Yeah, you want to roll low.
So what are we talking about? 6, 7 for most. Is it the?
No, I don't think it's quite as low as that. I think a marine is 7.
Yeah, but is it the World Eaters players are complaining they're only 6?
Ah, right, okay.
For some of their stuff. So, 7. So, if you're rolling a 4 on 2d6, which is quite low, then you're getting a really good result.
Yeah.
So an average result is interfacing.
But this is where you really do want. I mean, I think Iron Hands players are doing quite well with this sort of thing.
Yes.
You really want this. You want that intelligence to be, and presumably, Thousand Suns would be doing quite all right with this. Although they're probably more willpower, aren't they? More than this is why the advanced stats are so good because it separates out cool and willpower from intelligence. It certainly makes a master of signals quite appealing in some of these sorts of situations. And so I think generally things with high intelligence may well have Battlesmith, which opens up that advanced reaction. Which is again why I brought there. What's interesting though is you'll notice that this isn't an intelligence test. It is specifically an interface test that you're doing, which is done against your intelligence. This came up because the tech priests I gave them, thinking it would be useful, I gave them cyber familiars. Cyber familiars don't help this. Cyber familiars help with an intelligence test. This is not an intelligence test. That's my reading of it anyway. Others may have proved me wrong, but my reading of this is that this is its own thing, which is why they've gone to the trouble of giving it its own title. And then you're consulting as a child. It's quite hard, I think, to get up to that 3+. I think you are going to be hovering far more around the 0, 1, and 2s.
What is a 4? It's like 1 in.
It's pretty low.
It was 4 and 36, isn't it?
Mm.
Is that right? Yeah, 4 and
Uh,
36.
My memory of
So
year
1 in
7 maths
9.
is not good enough.
1 in 9 chance of getting that. So if you get lucky, and then it making it -2 for the enemy, I could see games where someone rolls in early, rolls that 3+, then their opponent just never gets a good enough roll to open any doors.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, it's only
important
these.
to note,
It's not all. It's not. It doesn't mess up your ability to work on any doors. That's just interfacing with these computers.
which are a good way of doing that before you
A
get
good
there.
way, yes, but yes,
Yes.
that's true.
Because they say it's important to note that doorways can also be opened the more traditional way by hitting their armor value of 12 and taking away 3 hull points.
Yes,
Nice
yes,
and easy, the classic way. So the Space Hulk way.
yes. Of
Um,
course, chain
so
fists
you
are
could,
pretty handy. Yeah.
yeah. So you can always do that as well. Like that is, you get up to that point where you're like, well, I might as well try and shoot this door as I'm standing. Next turn I'm going to get there anyway. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that has its downsides because you then can't close it. Okay, so the other special rule, breach action. During the reserves subphase, each player must change the state of D3 doorways that are within the deployment zone from closed to open. Doorways that have a state change in this manner remain open. So again, this is making sure that you don't roll up to the first door, lose your turn because you can't open the door, have another turn where you roll appallingly badly, and all of a sudden half your game is spent. You're still in your deployment zone, not interacting with the game.
Mm.
So I think that's a fairly sensible thing to put in there, because nothing ruins games more than those negative play experiences. Getting hammered is fine. Like most people can handle getting smashed to bits if they believe they could have done something in that battle.
Mm.
When you just like, well, I couldn't do anything because I couldn't open a freaking door.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you're
That's
not even
rough.
playing the game. That is what kills people's enjoyment of games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Okay, advanced battle rules. What have we got here?
These are quite fun. Yeah, these are quite fun.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at this bit much. I skimmed this bit. Campaign and ruined battlefield effects. So during the course of a series of linked battle, damages the structure of the hive itself, caused by intense gunfights, blah, blah, blah. The gradual collapse of a hive or the accumulation of bodies and debris can be represented in later stages by reducing the confined space special rule. You can roll, for example, d6 plus 3 per battlefield section to randomly determine the value of the confined space. That's pretty good. Or, random the lights go out or flicker
I
back
think
on.
this is cool. The idea that you've started out, particularly the idea of this being in a spaceship or something. I mean, they use the example there as a hive slowly collapsing around you, but either work. I mean, the idea of this thing sort of coming apart at the seams. So the ceiling is starting to collapse, or the sections of the board are starting to collapse. Then you've got the lights turning on and off. I think that's quite fun, particularly as you progress through a series of linked games. That's quite fun.
Yeah, for sure. You can have things like, you could do a real tree campaign where it's like, okay, whoever's attacking, the attacker won the last battle. Here are your 2 choices for your next mission.
Mm-hmm.
You can divert to go and hit the power banks to be able to knock out a load of lighting, or you can go direct for your thing. But if you go direct, you get less of an advantage or whatever it is. But if you take the side one, then you have to take longer. You fight another battle before you can get to where you kind of be, or the defender has more reinforcement or can start further up the board. There's lots of ways to play with that, which is really cool. And then the other one is unknown enemies, which again is a classic dream that doesn't often get played. But you can have counters or blips to represent contacts, so they only become seen once you've got line of sight to the blips. And a la Space Hulk, a la Alien, you can have this fog of war over the battlefield, which creates it's a very different feel when your tactical marines who are told to go and stand on that objective are watching this blip come towards them, going, "What is it? What is it? What is it?" And you turn it around, and there's Just Air and Terminators standing in front of them. You're like, "Oh no, we got the wrong blip." Yeah, and vice versa as well. When you're like, "Oh no, what's coming? What's coming? What's coming?" Oh, 10 tactical marines. That's the result.
This is what I love the idea of this being that you could play it one way or the other. You could have it where one side has got the blips and the other doesn't.
Yes.
Representing kind of greater intelligence or whatever. But you could also play it that both sides have got it. And I love the idea of the dummying, of saying, like, I'm going to keep moving this 4 inches to make them think that's where the dreadnought is, or whatever. And then suddenly, bang! Like, if you just because you're playing it, particularly if your opponent knows what your force is, which is kind of logical, you know what the army list is. You're looking at it over there on the tray, and you're like, "Ooh, which unit is that?" I think you could play some good Psy games there.
You don't have to know what the other. The thing is,
no,
right?
No, you could remove that.
You're generally going to play something like this, where it's combined back with someone you know well.
Yeah.
Generally, so that is the kind of thing. And this is codified, written down ideas for your games. But also, this page is like, this is what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people who think that way, who like to expand, will be like, oh, what else could we do? No, we just talked, about different ways of utilizing this and how they affect a campaign. You're right. Yeah, you could have the defenders have got cameras over their ship, so they know what's coming, but the attackers don't know what they're running into. Imagine, we're going to be getting rules for demons soon for Thousand Suns, specifically for Zinch. Imagine you've got a White Scars force making a boarding action on a Thousand Suns ship, and the White Scar player has to play open, and he's fighting against blips because he doesn't know what's on the ship, and all of a sudden it's like demons.
Yeah.
Like, whoa! Didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
It really has a lot of potential for playing. And this is the start. These are 2 things you can do. There are many, many more. And anyone who's like a DM will be like rubbing their hands at this, because you can D&D this out to do loads of stuff with, which is cool.
Yeah.
Right. Primary detachments. 3 of them. What do you reckon?
I love this. I think this significantly changes the offering in some way, because it's a sort of semi-complete force in your primary detachment, as opposed to what the Crusade primary detachment does, which is gives you a solid core to which you bolt on auxiliaries. This, you've got a force within itself. Right? Yeah, for small games, but I think it's really good though.
That's cool. So how do the other detachments work? So if one
how
of
do
these
the auxiliaries
primary detachments selected, the process of adding additional other detachments remains unchanged.
Exactly the same, which does make certain legions auxiliaries, their legion specific auxiliary detachments really handy. In particular, I think of the Sons of Horus one, the Supremacy Carder is fantastic for sort of adding on to this. It is 2 shock assault and 2. Oh dear, I'm off the top of my head.
Well, roughly.
Yeah, I think it's 2 shock assault and 2 veterans.
Because it's the nature of what you can bring rather than any other rule attached to it. Okay.
Exactly. It's not the special rule that's with it. It's more what they bring, and potentially what prime advantages those slots bring as well. They were very good. The Alpha Legion one's quite good as well, whereas
Space Wolf one can be quite good.
Yes, I suspect. There's going to be some that are going to work a treat. Any with armor are going to be next to useless. But those with certain shock assault and veterans become very handy. That said, given how flexible these are, you can do a lot of heavy lifting just with these primary detachments. Of particular note is the Bulwark one, which has got 2 war engine slots, which is relatively difficult to get.
One which can be a prime advantage.
Yes, a prime advantage dreadnought is, I think, near impossible to achieve elsewhere. So you start thinking, what can I do there? Oh, can I do something? There's relatively actually little you can do with that, because they can't be a paragon of battle. They can't be a master sergeant. So might only be a logistical benefit.
Teleport.
But no, exactly. No. That's what I thought you could do. That's what got me excited about it when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's so you can teleport one. No, not quite so quite. So it starts out quite exciting, and then perhaps isn't so much. But I'm a big fan of the Line Breaker and the Strike Force, frankly. Both of those are quite good with the 2 shock assaults built in.
Balanced, haven't they? Because the elite gets the prime on the Line Breaker.
Yeah.
And then you get 2 for the Strike Force.
Yeah.
Because you're not giving it to an elite. Which potentially benefits from it more. So, but this is where you can, choose your hardest elite force and teleport them in up the battlefield is a scary prospect potentially. But yeah, you've got 3 flavors there that you can play with in addition to the other things you can do. But you can sort of choose what kind of units do I want to take. Okay, cool, brilliant. I'll bring this strike force and then I'll bulk it out with these auxiliaries. 3 standard deployment zones, cool. Long ways, sideways, and corners, nice and easy. Some lovely pictures of some boards. They do look smaller. It looks weird. And then 6 missions, as you said. So we've got what, table quarters?
Yes.
So these are say blood for blood, and then table quarters, and then
Sector domination 2. So and you score in your opponent's turn. So
right.
at the end of your opponent's turn, you score the victory points. So you're getting 2 victory points for each sector you control, which of course in the first turn you're likely to have 2 each, and then it goes on from there. That becomes quite an interesting game because it means that line continues to be effective, but not perhaps overwhelmingly so. I mean, a tactical squad, line 2 suddenly counts as 3 units. So a couple of those, and you are quite likely to be dominating a sector. It also is slightly encouraging of multiple small units. But they are risky because the primary objective, of course, is blood for blood, which is absolute meat and drink for Vanguard. Because, Justarian, one of the reasons I took Sons of Horrors, Justarian being Vanguard 4, you get 4 victory points every time they kill something. If you're up against lots of multiple small units, that's fabulous for them. And I've watched battle reports where they've dominated on their own, single squad of them. There's quite a lot of Vanguard, and a lot of people have said about issues with that and the difficulty of scoring with that. This sort of flips that on its head. But what I like about it is it doesn't penalise line. Line is still... I'd underestimated how useful line is in the game I played.
Wow. There's a conversation for another day.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, it was interesting. So you've got quarters, 4 quarters, and then 3 like layered, like your Neapolitan ice cream of sectors with some targets on those. Are they there for any reason? Are they a carryover?
They
On no
are...
quarter?
What is that relative to mission special rules?
I think that's just been left in from a previous map. Then Blood of the Ground is a single 12-inch wide sector across the long length of the board, which is also... Domination's gone up to 3 on this one. And also, after the first... Each battle round after the first number of victory points each player scores from the sector domination is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 0 for each unit under their control that has any models within their own deployment zone. So it's get out of the deployment zones, get in the middle, have a big scrap. There we go. And then Siege Control has 4 sectors in vertically along the length, which is cool. Placing cogitated terminal. So these are telling you whether you've got cogitated terminals as well or not, which is fine. Again, you can play with it as you wish. And then we get 5 and 6 are a bit different. So 5 is too small in the center with 2 elevators on either side. So they want you in this 24-inch by 20-inch square, scrapping it out.
It's really intense. All these games, when you just go and look at the board. I mean, we only played the first mission in this set, but just when you look at the board, you're like, goodness me, we're going to be pretty close here, even though you're only. But this one, even more so, this Nexus of Ruin. And funnily enough, as soon as we'd finished our game, Grant got straight out to start printing something to use in our next game for the elevators because he really fancied this. And as you say, it's really tight on a 36 by 48, and it's really focusing you in on the 24.
So actually, the area around the 2 sectors is a sector of itself, but is only 3 victory points compared to 5 for each of the alpha and beta. So you don't necessarily have to push everything in, but all your reserves have to come up through the elevator platform. Obviously, you've got your starting points anyway. But yeah, if you want reserves, they're coming straight into the thick of the battle. That's a proper King of the Hill kind of thing. And then Total Domination has a little map for you to put some walls down. And as you said, so this is Sector Domination 10 because it's 1 sector.
I thought this was interesting because it completely flipped it.
Final battle turn.
Yeah, it takes out that blood for blood, so suddenly Vanguard isn't super valuable again. On the other hand, your whole purpose here is just to eliminate the enemy, any enemy units, so that you've just got more.
Yes.
And line obviously becomes critical again at that point. So it means that in the final turn of the game, one of you is going to score sector domination. It's probably going to win it.
Also, if you reckon you've got the best HQ at taking out a champion,
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
You can dive in to try and nick the small victory on that as well, but that has its risks. Cool. So you played that first mission.
We did. We almost played total domination. We thought let's not start with the one that's quirky. The other thing about this is that they are all they're more than the 4 turns.
Yes.
They are all the longer turn.
Ironically.
Games. Yeah, well, quite.
The board has the longer turns.
There's also some weird choices, which I'm sure they did for important reasons, but there's weird things like it flips on its head the pre-battle sequence, like you roll dice and the winner automatically deploys first and goes first, and it's kind of the reverse for that. I think in the main game it's like, well, why isn't that consistent? Why have you changed that? But whatever.
Well, I wonder if they're changing things.
Yeah, you wonder if it's maybe they decided that doesn't quite work.
Don't get my hopes up, Howard. Do not get my hopes up.
Hello, 4th edition, or 3.5 edition. But this is
5
definitely
turns would be a big improvement on the game.
Yeah, these are all like that. You're all rolling for additional turns. In fact, it's actually defined somewhere. No, you're not all rolling for them. It's just defined in the clearance
protocol.
Clearance protocol mission. Deploy how sudden to decide victor.
So play step 7. All clearance protocol missions are played for at least 5 battle turns.
There we go.
At the end of battle turn 5, the player took the first turn must roll a dice. On a 1 or 2, it's ended. On a 3 to 6, 6th and final battle turn is played. So actually, they're 5 battle turns most of the time with a 6th. I'm guessing that we don't get that in the big game because of time.
Yeah.
Because they've decided the game takes too long. Well, I'm like, well, make the game take a little bit less long to play, and give me 5 or 6 turns. I'd rather that. So maybe I gel more with the Zone Mortalis, ironically, than I would with.
As you say, maybe they think it's because of the smaller. The game we played, we thought we were going to blitz through it. We didn't because we played at 1,500 points. Because we were new to Zone Mortalis, it took that a little bit longer. I think future games would be quicker because you're that much closer. You're straight into combat. They're pretty bloody, and you're only dealing with certain types of unit. So
it's not going to be a 40-minute game, right? We're not expecting that. But there are fewer models, and ironically, you can have less going on. As well because of the walls and things like that, and the abyssal darkness coming down, all that kind of stuff. So actually, you can move through some of the turns a lot quicker. But that's cool. I like line special rule. There is again. I talked about it earlier. I think you get in danger with this game if everyone goes, well, if I take enough line, I can hold on to the sectors. And it's like, well, that doesn't scream Zone Mortalis to me. Zone Mortalis is about working your way through this dangerous environment. It should be about pushing on. And
even from a gaming point of view, I think actually it's risky because typically the Vanguard type of units, particularly when you get into the veteran squads of veteran despoilers, veteran command squads, and your Legion Terminators and things like that. Terminators in general, just regular Terminator squads. They will eat those squads for breakfast. They're quite close to each other. So because it's only a 3-foot distance apart, that's depending on which mission you play. You could be outflanking, you could be coming in from reserves, teleporting. You will give away quite a lot of points that way. And you really do have to have you'd have to have quite a lot of dominance with that. So in that role, even if you did do that, I think it's risky. It's not as straightforward as you think. But I take your point completely.
But is that the problem of Vanguard works in 1 turn? And if you're clever, you can try and hide these.
That's true.
Units. So therefore, okay, cool. You've got your outflank. You've got all those rules. You've got your teleportation that can help you get there. But you're not charging on any of those, so you can shoot. But you've also got to roll the roll starting from turn 2.
Yeah.
So, there's potential that your opponent is well ahead of you again Vanguard might be able to bring that back. It's certainly got more opportunity to bring that back in this, and I don't necessarily have as much of an issue as a lot of people do with Vanguard. Again, I haven't played the game as much as other people, so that might well be that whole reason. But I don't think it's perfect. But in an environment where you're supposed to have a decent amount of terrain to hide, and they're walls, they're impassable. Like, there's a real, the lights go out in 2 sectors, and you're hiding loads of line dudes in there. You're taking those sectors, So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But for me, it's more important the game plays the way I think Zone Mortalis should.
Yeah.
And yes, you don't necessarily have to push forwards to make Zone Mortalis interesting, but I want to see armies that are like, if I'm fighting on a ship, I would like people to bring. Yeah, it's no problem having tacticals, but there's a push towards other stuff that you would like to see. That fit the theme a little bit more. There's a balance to be had there. And again, it's one of those things. Can I tell you what the balance is? No, I can't. But I could probably see when I don't think it's right. And that will change for people as well. But again, unless you're going to an event, and in which case the event either doesn't care, which is fine, or sets that theme for you in the pack and by rules. So they do that. But otherwise you're playing. If I was to get down and actually place it, would be against people I know, and we'd have a discussion beforehand. Be like, oh yeah, should we play this? And like, okay, I'll try and bring something that's a bit, that fits that, or we'll play this. We'll change these rules. I think, as I've said it again more and more, I'm more into like, I want to play my mates or I want to play people who are willing to have the discussion, or I don't even need the discussion with.
I think this game mode definitely rewards a discussion beforehand about what you're going to be doing and what type of game you're playing. This one particularly lends itself to that.
I mean, yeah, sure. I will say the other thing. So during second and during first, I was like, cool, let's have some progressive scoring missions. They're the way forward. And I think that's because I was in an environment where everything was always end of game scoring. So it was kill stuff, jump on stuff. Cool. I think I want both balanced because you get to this point where the optimal army design is, can I score 20, 25, 30 points by turn 3? And then I can't be caught. And so it's less about what can I do, because kill points. Okay, in this, kill points is something I'm talking more generally, but in the general game, kill points is not around. You struggle to make up a lead because your opponent's sitting there going, it doesn't matter how many people you kill, I'm going to be on 30 points at the end of turn 3, and your mission is to take those off me, and this one guy is going to score me 4 points next turn, that kind of thing. This does it with kill points. This changes the game a little bit, which is not a bad thing. But I would like to see a mix of end of game scoring, even within the mission, like a bit more end of game scoring, progressive scoring, that kind of thing. So I think you've got one mission here which is no kill points. Cool, have 2 which are no kill points. And then all of a sudden, if you're going to an event, like, you can't plan the army that is just, I'm going to murderize everyone and I will make up any domination issues. Fine. You can't, or the reverse. Whereas if I just take a few to keep them alive, I can score enough points that victory points is going to matter. Or take a hugely elite army that scores points well on domination. You can't plan for the event to eliminate kind of those people. You're a little bit more open to the game being open. Those are my 2 penneth worth. But I think I'm going to have to try and listen to this back. I think there's some subjects there we could pull out and discuss more in the future.
Yeah, I think so. There's it does spark a few ideas. Do you want to discuss the extra units?
Yeah, let's do that. I do want to discuss the fact they put the Ruin Storm brutes in a picture, like in an official publication, just before the units. Those models are lovely, and yeah, I wanted the wing ones. Well, you never know. Plastic, they could be viable. Anyway, we also got some units on top of that. What do we get? Castellax Infernus Maniple.
Well, first of all, I think it's quite good that they got units out for sort of most, certainly the current factions available.
Yeah.
I suppose you could say Custodes and Demons are suffering a bit there, but Mechanicum, Solar Orcs, and Legions all get units. I think that's pretty cool for this particular expansion as well, given that it's a game mode that applies everywhere. I mean, that's obviously you could argue that's come at the cost of, because we haven't touched on this, but the structure of this book is completely different to any other. I assumed there was going to be lore section that would be describing Farl and all the typical. Nope, we will scrap all of that. It's all rules all the time. Am I disappointed by that? Possibly. I would have quite liked a couple of little bits on it, but I know a lot of people would quite like all rules.
At the end of the day, I think what we've got, it's 45 pages. Like, you add in 10 pages of lore, they're going to bump the price up.
Yeah. For something that is, yeah.
Yeah. For something that you want to be able to take to the table and look up rules on. So I actually don't mind. I think they could do a better job of telling us what is in these books before they come out. Warcom should highlight, in the build up to pre-release, to release, to pre-order, should be able to say, this book contains the rules for playing, doesn't really contain much lore, but has some extra units, and be quite clear about what it's selling. Because as you say, there are 3 or 4 types of Journal Tacticas we have now. This branding we have for Journal Tactica is wide. It's not a narrow setting.
No.
You pick up I don't know. You pick up a gang book. You know what you're getting with a gang book for Necromunda. You pick up a something for Old World. Like you're getting a bit of lore and then an army list and some new units. Like on the whatever you call them. The journals, whatever they're called. Whereas I don't know, off the top of my head, I would have to think about what's in what books. Now we're getting Custodes coming out soon, and they've sort of given us a hint of what we're getting with the Custodes, which will be background, and then we know there's demons in it, and we know there's Custodes in it. So that's going to be more of a traditional kind of battlefield. Background scenarios units, we assume. But yeah, next time they do something like a Zone Mortalis, I think they should be like, cool, this is what this book is going to be. We don't have to give the details, but it means that people who don't want to buy it won't be going out buying it and getting frustrated with it.
Well, I noticed with the Necromunda books, because that Necromunda with its new edition has switched to that new what are they? As you say, what are they called? They're probably called Journal Necromunda or something, Journal Hive or something. Anyway, they followed the same principle as the other specialist games. He says in inverted commas, they will have journals. They will have gang journals coming up with those, and indeed with the books that you need to play that. The gangs of the Hive and gangs of the Outlands, or whatever the 2 books are called. They publish the contents pages. On Warcom, so you knew exactly what was coming in each of those and what the nature of the book was. Whereas this one, you didn't really need. Yes, you could even do a higher level one, but I don't think you'll ever have a Warcom article saying this doesn't have any lore, but it's all rules. But I mean, there's other ways of phrasing that, of course.
Yeah, there are ways of highlighting.
Yeah,
what's in a book, and I'm looking like we had 2. I think we had 2 Warcom articles today. So it's not like they're inundating us with Warcom articles. So I think, a cheeky little, 2 today. So a little 1-page kind of, Zone Mortalis is coming out. Here's a bit about Zone Mortalis, and this is what we used to have in this book. rules, scenario, and lay it out like that. That's all it has to be. And here's one rule from the book, and here's one, this unit can do this, this unit can do this. Not rules, just what their role is, and that'll be fine because that will give you enough information to make a slightly more informed choice over whether you want to be in.
You could tweak it. I mean, they had an article about Zone Mortalis before it came out, but it told you about this the first unit, the Flamer Castellax. Yeah. Great, but it, as you say, I would rather those articles. I mean, they come in for quite a lot of stick generally about their inability to communicate effectively and set expectations. Set expectations being absolutely critical part to that, both be that the events or the products or whatever. That to me is the key, and it's another area where they could it's just reiterating what a lot of people have said before, including us. Setting the expectations is key. They need to find a way to do that, ideally.
Yeah, especially with the nature of the expectations set by the community itself. Moving on. So, Castellax Infernus Maniple, interesting in that this is a unit that can be converted using your models you already have. It's not a specific unit. Not a specific model, should I say?
No. Which is the kind of the intention, I suppose, of Journal Tacticas, that they will always be. Here's a quirky, fair point. Yes, better way. That if the units included, it's one of the intentions of units included in the Journal Tacticas is that you can convert them out of yourself. You don't think that's the case?
I don't think that's always going to be the case. I think you're going to get. Well, I suppose it depends what you mean by converted, doesn't it? Because I could see them dropping models and giving us a Journal Tactica to have rules for those models as well.
Maybe, but I don't.
Because of the nature of it. How do you add to the Liber?
Because there's something like that. You wouldn't want to put. Yeah, you put it in a download because you don't want to limit purchases of models to a book which you may not have. You may not be able to keep in stock.
Potentially.
I think you'd be more likely to say, just stick that out as a PDF so everyone can buy it. Don't be you need to pay 14 quid to be able to buy this extra model. I think it's more suited to their...
That's the ideal.
Yeah.
I'm not...
I think that's more likely.
It's going to happen. I'm saying it's a possibility that could
happen. It is. I agree with that. It's a possibility, but I think this is more likely.
Yeah. Castellax are cool. Haven't got very high intelligence. Don't want to be opening many doors.
It made me, when I was just looking at this, it did make me think, I wonder how Mechanicum play in this, because they've got fantastic access to things like Tech Priests and Battlesmith everywhere. But their basic troops are going to struggle. You're going to have to, everyone's going to babysit.
The Vorax and the...
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to get a follow-up with Mechanicum and Solar specific Zone Mortalis detachments.
Interesting.
To play around with different things. That's a potential they can do. But they definitely made a big deal of in fact, the Vorax artwork was really cool because they just gave us the same thing in Traitor and a Loyalist scheme with a little bit of a where are we? So it was the threat of either one of these automata loosed into a hab sector would be sufficient to pacify the entire civilian population. Such was their grim reputation. Yeah, the Traitor Mechanicum are doing their thing. Castellax bulky 4, so you are going to be limited a little bit, and that is the problem you do have is the Castellax and the Veltrax are very big. But Vanguard 3 with 3 firing protocols 3 to shoot all their guns, they're pretty cool, aren't they?
Yeah.
Panic on their Purge Incinerator.
The Purge Incinerator, I think, is super cool. I mean,
pretty cool
against mortal opponents, against non-Marines, because it's AP4.
It's got breach in 6+ as well.
Still pretty good.
Yeah.
Because we were regularly getting flamers hitting 8, 10 units, and they've got one of these, haven't they? So you take a couple of these. It's 2 Castellax. You could have up to 6. Very difficult to maneuver and actually get all those flamers in. You'd be better off with more. Larger number of small units again, but goodness me, I think that's quite good. I mean, it's just flat out better than a heavy flamer.
Also, you're putting it on something which is toughness 6 with 4 wounds. and as we said, there's the ability to just walk around a corner to not take so much incoming fire, and unless you've got the weapons in combat to deal with toughness 6, it can just be a stopper by itself, which is cool.
You've also got phased refractor shields on these, which I think is what gives them the 6+ invulnerable.
Right, yeah.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, Vanguard 3. I mean, I could easily see these things. You could have these things walk on the back line and walk. Or are they heavy? They're not heavy, are they? No.
Nope.
So they could walk on the back line and just absolutely rinse tactical squads that you've got held on things.
Big time. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Cool. Velataris Raider section.
I mean, these are just cool, aren't they? Just the
Breaching
idea of
shotguns,
these.
crack guns, frag grenades. Yeah. Vanguard 3, humans. Love
the
it.
only thing that people might have whinged about, maybe this is just me, it would have been cool to have the shotguns and the shields as an option, as if you could have done that. But whatever, I'm splitting hairs. It's still cool.
That'd be cool, actually. That'd be
it would be cool, wouldn't it? It would be cool, just like basically a copy of a Legion Breacher squad, but with guys with shotguns and shields. That would look awesome. But so be it.
They need, firing the shotgun is definitely a two-handed weapon. You would need proper.
Well, this is it, isn't it?
Full-on brace points. Yeah, I get that.
I can see why they've done what they've done, but it's but that's still cool. Those Velataris with a shock maul and I've seen lots of people doing different ways of that, either taking the Palanite Enforcers bits from Necromunda and doing that. That's a big shield and a big maul, or you take the RBTs ones.
85 points for the shotguns, plus an extra 125 points for the shields and mauls. Because it's any model as well, so you could do 5 and 5.
You could,
or you could do 10.
They've also got, if I'm not mistaken, they're still Velatari. And and they can be selected as part of a Velataris Tertio, which means they sort of mix perfectly well with all the various Tertio rules of the of Velatari, those little bits and pieces. So you could have a squad of these guys, a squad of the Axe guys, and a squad of even the Heavy Flamer ones, actually. Cool. Actually, they'd be tasty in Zone Mortalis. So yeah, the Velatari are well suited to this. That said, they still break. 4+ save, not the greatest the leadership in the world.
They do become heavy with the shields.
Oh, that's true.
But with the shotguns, which cause stun, but strength 5, it's not a bad option. I like that 5 up invulnerable with the shields is pretty cool. And then you get the shield wall reaction as well because they're doing that. So
these would also make Velatari in general, but particularly the Velatari with shotguns, would be superb for representing kind of shipboard armsmen.
Yes, absolutely.
Counterboarding squads and stuff like that would be very cool for that. Because you've got the Navy breachers, haven't you? As a kill team, so you could have Navy breachers, the Navy armsmen on board a ship defending it against a boarding action of Marines would be quite fun.
It's cool. Move on. Auxiliary Combat Technician section. So,
yes, this gives Solar Auxiliary essentially something that's going to help them access cogitators and open and close doors.
Giving you a base intelligence characteristic of 9 when you do so.
Yes.
That's not bad. Gives you the
Battlesmith rule as well, so you can do the wireless interface, or you can go up and tackle a cogitator as well.
So it's when making any interface checks. So you can use it for either. That's pretty cool. So they're 35 points for 5 of them. That's a really good. That's a steal, isn't it? Run them off, do their thing. Probably won't survive. Doesn't matter. They've opened doors for
them. Okay, that's interesting. They all come with pistols. They all come with blast pistols as standard, and you can upgrade them for a las rifle for free.
No. And 1 blast charger for free.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. They're 35 points.
Whatever. You're not buying them for the weapons, but it's just interesting to see what they have.
Once he's opened enough doors or turned enough lights off, he's hiding.
Yes, quite. I think it's super cool. The suggestion of how to build that unit is use the crew from the Medusa or the Basilisk.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's quite fun.
Veteran Despoiler Squad. This excited people, didn't it?
Everyone wanted to see this, although we had it in Legacies. I don't know what was significantly different. I think they were very similar, but they get spenny really quickly. But the squad of these I had were brilliant. The squad of these running with Axamand was cool.
You can give them all lightning claws if you want. It's pretty badass. Any model may have combat shield. Yeah.
I had a mixture of mauls and axes with the sergeant with the thunderhammer. And I think I had a squad of 8 of them following Axamand, and that was quite cool. Partly because it just made them look cool, made them look like very Sons of Horacy, late heresy Sons of Horacy, and that was just a lot of fun doing those. So I think people are going to be doing some good things with these.
You can get a couple of mauls, can you? Legion equipment list, is that how you get the mauls?
No, you can just do it because they can. Where is it? Any model in this unit is change sword exchange for any model in this unit may have exchange sword exchange for one weapon from the. So you could give a squad of 10 with axes if you wanted. Hello, cool. Phalanx Warders. You know, the tricky thing with introducing these veteran versions of core squads is they are often seem to be sort of more appealing. Maybe they're more efficient, whatever, than Legion specific version. So like Phalanx Warders.
Sure.
I think you'd be more inclined to take these days. But
because
whatever.
You can give them all. I mean, well, there's less, so up to 2 can have the Legion equipment list. So what you're going for, whereas you might have different options for your ones. But yeah, they are doing a pretty good job on that. Okay, that's interesting. There's a lot of options in there, isn't there? Really.
There is.
And then because again we get the veteran breacher squad. So you want breachers that do a little bit more. You can try these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a lot of options for weapons.
Slightly more limited. Region combi weapon.
Every 5 models, 2 breachers can have the guns, but they can all have the like any model can have its bow exchange for chainsaw, chain axe, shotgun, charger, saber, power weapon, power fist, lightning claw. So you've got a lot of weapons there. Plus your 2
combi weapons.
Legion's list.
Combi weapons is there. You could have the whole squad with combi weapons. It's quite fun.
Yeah. But again, here you can have the, a couple of graviton guns if you want to be able to fire those out, that kind of thing. Again, you could spend a lot of points on them.
Yes, you can. They get very expensive very quickly. Same thing goes for these guys.
But you want them, you want them to go in and kill what they're after because you want the Vanguard to hit.
You do, and with both of these squads,
balance right.
I think they are worth being expensive because they got the weapon skill 5 and the 2 wounds.
It does help.
Those 2 together are invaluable. I think they got a boost on the basic, on the advanced characteristics as well, but those 2 characteristics primarily, the 2 wounds and the weapon skill 5 is huge.
Yeah, weapon skill 5 is almost the most important, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. For both survivability and attacking punch.
Doesn't help you when you get shot in the face, but
shield does, and I'm always amazed how useful a 5+ invuln is. I always look at it and think that's rubbish. Why am I relying on this? And then surprisingly, you roll some 5s, and it's still there.
It's those moments when you need to kill them, and it's like, oh, shoot, they're on me. Like next turn, they are here. Okay, I've got this unit and this unit and this unit to shoot them. Load of bolt guns. Okay, cool. Oh, I've got some, got some plasma or whatever here. And then you're like, yeah, get through. And it's like, okay, he's rolled, just slightly above average and saved, 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
It's like, right, what am I doing?
Yeah. Now what?
So, yeah, that's cool.
Overall thoughts then on the book?
Yeah, I think it's good. The missions look interesting. I'm not head over heels for those missions, but they look interesting. Yeah, we do have it as PDF. I say there are some slight changes. I always prefer having it in the book. I'm one of those people. Even though it costs money, but again, it wasn't a lot of money, so I can't moan too much when you're in a hobby like this. Haven't had a chance to play it, but I think there's enough in there to look at. If you're running events, like running Zone Mortalis events, there's ideas for this. I like the reserves rules. I think that's cool. I wonder how they affect the game. Like, I think you'd have to play quite a few games to see how they work, or if some just aren't being used at all. Like, I mean, to come on your own deployment zone on a 2+, but potentially be under status effect.
Mm.
I don't know how often people are going to use the force march.
Mm.
Like, almost why are you keeping stuff back if that's the case? But yeah, I don't know. But the rest of it looks interesting.
I think it's a really impressive book, actually. I think, and the amount of excitement that it seems to have invigorated in heresy in general. I mean, I've just seen a lot of people, because it gives you just a really good entry point and a little thing for people to explore. Because what Zone Mortalis has always done, but I think it's particularly true this time for some reason.
I also do think it's important to have these things physically for sale, because I want to play heresy with my mates. Oh, we don't need to go to a club and find other people who play heresy. Like, there's 5 of us, and we can have our own little thing. How often are they going to check, like, the download section of Games Workshop? Like, there's no visibility if you're new in to go there. But if you see this advertised on a shelf on the internet when you're browsing Element games, oh, that looks interesting, cool. So I do think there's a the visibility is something that's often undervalued. I remember when Ninth Age was coming out, when Warhammer Fantasy Battle was stopping, and these people set up Ninth Age as a very tournament-based thing, and they tried to do loads of different stuff with it. And someone said to me, "You're going to play it?" And I'm like, "It's not in shops, and unless it's in shops, your player base will consistently dwindle, and it won't last." We're getting some new people, but you're losing people at the same time, and you need to be visible to have a greater growth than loss. So I do think it's an important part of it. And it's a good book. Like, we haven't had any of these books have been bad. The Zone Mortalis rules look really cool. The missions, I have an issue with the way these games look at missions a little bit. I don't think they're bad. I think it's a consistent. You've got to give them credit for that. There's a consistency in that. Whether that's my thing or not is a different factor. So yeah, I think it's a good book. I'm glad I bought it. It'll go on the shelf with the others. It'll be one of those things. If I ever do get it to run events, I'll be dipping into it, even if I'm not running Zone Mortalis events. I think.
I found that quite, and I found that I'm finding all of the Tacticas are being pretty good. I think this one sort of elevates itself because it's sort of more generalist, because it's a game mode, and I could see them doing something else similar. I mean, their commitment to Battle March in Old World, for example, of having little entry point armies and a game mode presented in one of these book formats is very cool, and I could see them doing something. Maybe Zone Mortalis is it for Heresy. But on that basis, I think it elevates it slightly above the other Tacticas, and I think they're all been quite good.
The only problem with that is it's not an entry point game, because you need to train.
That's true.
And I saw someone on Facebook was like, "There's no way I'm paying GW prices for these tiles."
Yeah.
And the plastic Necromunda ones. Where can I get cheaper versions? And I think everyone was like, unless you already own a printer and you're really good with it, and you found files for nothing, you're just not going to get a better version. And you're not going to get the same version for cheaper. And anything under the value of what you want to pay is not going to be worth buying.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got to put walls and things like that. It's so much cheaper than it used to be.
Oh, good, yes.
There are ways of doing it, but you can go down the cardboard. People have had cardboard, 3D printed. There's lots of systems. I'm going to shout out Dark Fantastic Meals here. I'll try and put the link in the show notes. They gave me a couple of sets of their what do they call it? I can't remember what they call it. It's not the Fortress kit, but their equivalent, where you can actually make walkways and things like that. You can stand on. You can do 3D if you want, but walls and doors and everything. Really fantastic kit. But there are people doing variations on that out there. But the Necromunda set's going to do you a pretty good job.
Yes,
Or
it
the
is.
kill team stuff.
And with the choices we've got, as you say, with these other kits that you've got that companies do, as you say, MDF and card and all sorts, it's huge.
They're out there, and find the one that works for you. The other way you can do it is with things like we talked about this before, the containers. The walls are thicker if you do that, but there's ways of having the GW containers and using them. You're having a fight in an enclosed stockyard. It's fine. It's the same principle.
Yeah.
Enclosed spaces, limited access. It works fine. So that's the one thing where Battle March is a good way of getting into Old World.
Yes.
So Mortalis is not a good way of getting into Heresy. Does Heresy need that? There's an argument it doesn't. But if Old World's got it, something like a Centurion.
I was thinking that. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Would be the equivalent.
Yeah.
And how they would do that? Well, they could do that. I think it would be a good idea for them to do it. Because it would be that. Hold on, you've bought whatever box says it is. Well, you've got a Centurion army there. It's not a good basis for an army. It is an army.
Yeah.
So, let's say one dreadnought, maybe a rhino, and that's all the army you can have.
Yeah.
Everything else is jet bikes or below. That kind of thing, and you're limited on how many jet bikes you can have or how many bikes you can have. Makes a quite a simple game which will teach you all the rules.
Yeah.
And feel like 40 years ago. Without D12s and D8s and Harlequin's kisses.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be.
Someone will try
an A4 page of rules for a Death Spinner. I'm sure at some or a shock attack gun. But I'm sure, unless you've got a thud, we've got thud guns now. So I think it's time to bring the split pins back and
lifter droppers.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can. There's a nostalgia for that, and it seems to Battle March seems to have been extremely well received. So I think there is an argument.
Well, you need a lot of models for our world. Right, even if you're taking dragons, you need a lot of models in a unit. So it's a good way to build up to that. And every game has its entry point. Like it's way in. Spearhead does really well for Age of Sigmar. Combat Patrol less so for 40k, but meh. And our world has Battle March. Lord of the Rings has their thing, whatever they were doing. Can't remember what it was called now, but it was Battle.
Oh yes, there was. Was it Patrol or something? Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Which was went down well. Heresy's never had that officially, really, because of the terrain element required for Zone Mortalis. But we'll see.
We will.
Still not a bad thing, because if you're in a gaming group, you could all club together to get something that works as Zone Mortalis.
Yes.
And then you're all spending less on your own armies. But you're putting a bit more into a group thing. But it's not easy. But yeah, it's cool. I should play some Zone Mortalis. I really should.
I'd recommend it for sure.
I'll try and fix some in somewhere with someone. Awesome. Well, any final notes? That's pretty much
I think we've covered that. I think we're all good there.
Wonderful.
I look forward to discussing the next one with you.
Cool. Well, yeah, the next one may be a little bit earlier, but we shall see on that front. Anyway, thank you.
Good talking to you, Greg.
Nice.
Speak soon. Cheers.
Well, thank you for listening to another episode of The Imperial Truth. Turns out I didn't actually mention right at the start what episode it was. Episode 208. It was good. ZM book. I think we discussed it enough. It's quite interesting. I think, again, thank you for the letter at the top of the show. If you have any feedback, if you've got something we will talk about it on the show. We will take into account what you say. Might not necessarily mean we do it, but we certainly will give it value to read it and see what you think of us or suggestions you have. You can email Greg at theimperialtruth.com, or you can get us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads, on Blue Sky, Imperial_Truth on Twitter, at Child of Fang everywhere else, because social media is a pain. So hit us up with your suggestions, your questions, your topics, your corrections, your theories, your other points of view, whatever it may be. We are always glad to listen to that. Right at the start of the show, I did mention that Emma is on a marathon walk. In the show notes of this, I'm going to put a link to her Just Giving page. If you are in a position to and feel like you want to support that, it's all for Abigail's Footsteps, a baby lost charity. It's sort of amazing how many people we know who are affected by that we didn't know about until we ourselves had Jackson stillborn. So, if that's happened to us, it's happened to a lot of people, and they're a really good charity. Not charities can all be very different, and this isn't to disparage anyone else, but we know that Abigail's are doing brilliant things beyond just supporting individuals at the time of need. They provide counselling. They also provide a lot of training for midwives, because when you're going through the worst, what you don't need is someone who makes it worse, inadvertently saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. And the training they do, I don't know if the midwives we had that training. I do know that they were truly amazing. Things that you can't think of at the time were suggested to us, and hard things, but because they were suggested to us in the right way, we went through with them, and it makes that 6 years down the line now, I still think of, what if we didn't do that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but you guys, have already supported people who've bought tickets to the raffles we've done as well. I know you are all very generous. Please don't feel like I'm pressuring you into it, but it's there if you would like to support Emma. Actually, we should do a raffle next year, shouldn't we? Maybe try and do one every couple of years. Something. I have actually talked to someone about a possibility of something to do next year. It's quite hard because I'm always leaning on people to do it, so I can only form these money-saving ideas with the time and effort of other people. So if you have any ideas on that, then send them in as well. Why not? If you're a shop, then I may wish to talk to you, particularly if you're in America. You know someone, or you're linked to someone who runs a shop that sells Warhammer, then maybe we can chat. But cool. Okay, so we've done that. We are coming back to you a little bit early next episode, something a bit special for you guys to hopefully enjoy. And can't say anything more about it yet, but it will be there. And I'm trying to think. I'm sure there was some other stuff I wanted to talk to you about, but I probably should leave the rest of that there. Just a quick mention that, again, if you want to support the show, you can purchase from Element Games using our link, using our element codes. You can leave a review for us on the podcast of choice. We have a Patreon if you wish and you believe that we are worth any of your hard-earned money, then that is all amazing. Whatever you do or don't do, I would like to say thank you for your support. Thank you for your listen. This show is put out for free, and it will always be put out for free as long as we're doing it. Who knows what happens in the future? One day this show will come to an end, I'm sure. But for now, we are carrying on, and I am properly warbling. So I am going to leave you all to it. And until next time, you have been listening to Imperial Truth. All the music in this episode is created by Kevin MacLeod. Truth of Legend, Mechanolith, Five Armies, Curse of the Scarab, Hero Theme, and Dark Star can all be found at incompetech.com and licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 license. More information can be found on this by visiting theimperialtruth.com.